Hello and welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We always say this is the casual stream, guys. So casual that we started out Michelle having a drink. Michelle, what are you having there?
I'd love to tell you. It's just
don't tell me the brand.
It is a form of fizzy beverage with a form of alcohol in it.
Oh, an adult drink. How about that?
Okay, so we are here. Adult drink because it's Saturday night.
As you can tell, I've got my own little adult drink over here as well. We are going to be talking all about the Elimination Chamber and the exciting matches that we've got to predict, of course, throughout this night, leading into the kind of pre-show kickoff and also into the show itself. We'll be kind of wrapping up there. And on the way, we're going to have a few special guests on the way. So we'll see you here in just a few seconds.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so that is it. Don't miss any of the action, guys. Stick with us here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, where we are going to be previewing, predicting, and building up towards the big event tonight. Like I said earlier on, we got some special guests throughout the show as well. We had a great number of special guests for the Royal Rumble. I think we had about 8 or 9. We haven't got as many this time, but there's going to be still quite a few, and the quality is still there. Don't you worry about that. So first of all, before we bring in our first guest, Michelle, how are you feeling about Elimination Chamber?
I am. I'm actually quite excited. It's weird. I don't normally get excited about like the filler really between Rumble and Mania, but I think it's going to be a good one. Actually, I am excited.
Well, it's always got the potential being that, the chamber is exciting, in and of itself anyway. But I think this year, of course, we're going to get to it quite a bit, of course, with the Sami Zayn situation and how that can potentially become quite sticky tonight on the road to WrestleMania. But at the same time, there's a lot of potential, I think, with whatever they decide to do, as far as who wins it, basically. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. Like you said, this is kind of an awkward time in the calendar. I always find it hard to predict Elimination Chamber because of that. But either way, 9 times out of 10, it delivers as a good show. And I think tonight is probably the most hyped this show has been in years. A lot of people saying, like you say, best kind of hype for a B show whatsoever.
Definitely. But I think there's 2 things that play with it, isn't it? There's obviously, let's be frank about it, the way the Bloodline story has been told has been executed so well. And at the moment, it's WWE where anything can happen and you don't know what curveballs are coming your way tonight, and things aren't necessarily as cut and dry and as obvious as they might have been this time last year with predicting the matches. And I think that's why it's so exciting for people to watch this year.
I think, obviously, we've touched on it briefly already, but the Sami Zayn one is the big one. And I do think it's still, and I want to ask everyone's kind of opinion on this tonight, what their percentage, I guess what their betting odds would be or something like that. But
God,
I do think it's somewhat straightforward who's winning this one. But I wouldn't be surprised if everything changed from there. So what we'll do, we've got some of our special guests kind of loading up in the green room at the moment. So we're going to bring our first on now. Everybody, welcome to the channel. Mekz, how you doing, Mekz?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, mate. Really, really good to see you on the channel. Of course, we met properly over in Cardiff, mate. It's been a little while yet since we did that, but it's good to link up again. How you been finding this build towards Elimination Chamber?
Just like what's being said, man. Like, who knew a B pay-per-view could be this good?
Well, we don't know how good it is yet, mate. We're not there, but the build at least.
Yeah, the build has been something special. And where Royal Rumble kind of kicks us off on the road to WrestleMania, this is almost like it's like Royal Rumble Part 2 because we're getting number 1 contenders and we're seeing consequential things happen that was gonna play out at Mania. But yeah, everything, there's a good stories for every match. It's not overloaded with matches. There's just enough there and enough important stuff to keep you going. And I mean, the main event is going to be something.
Yeah, mate, gonna be. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps. I've been walking around. I went and got a drink before the stream started, and I'm singing to myself this Sami Zayn theme song. I'm in such a good mood. Again, I'll get into what I actually think is going to happen. I don't know if I'll be singing it at the end of the night, but I'm thrilled to see the journey going to take us on. Anyway, speaking of the journey, we're going to bring in another member of the wrestling media now to kind of prop up the numbers here on the channel on this build-up show. So I want everyone to say hello to Alistair. How you doing, Alistair?
Right, man. Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, great, mate. Again, another person, of course, I met officially in Cardiff, mate. Great to meet you there, and many other kind of members of the wrestling press, and make friends going forward and do little special streams like this. But Alistair, what are you thinking about the build towards Elimination Chamber so far?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Like just saying, it's not uploaded with matches. It's kind of the NXT takeover formula of just 5 that should all be very strong. Lashley, Lesnar. I'm really glad for Bobby that he's actually finally getting the feud with Brock that he always wanted. And I think it's been delivering. Both chamber matches have been built really well. And yeah, Sami, more than anything, I'd love him to do it, but I don't think it's going to be going down that way.
Okay, getting in there early with a Sami talk and how likely you think it is. So let's start with that, guys. Let's start with we're all here. We're all excited about Sami Zayn, even if we don't think it's going to happen. And this is what we want in wrestling, guys. Even when it feels, to me, it does feel very clear it's going to be Roman. It makes a lot of sense for it to be Roman. But the fact there is that slight chance, and the fact that I think if they went either way with it, I would be happy. It's a great time to be a fan, guys. So let's go around. Let's first of all, Michelle, please give me percentage out of 100. How likely is it Sami Zayn wins?
Heart versus head. I think.
Let's do likely and let's do.
I think I think there's maybe like a 10 to 15% chance if they want to go really left field. But again, thinking about the long-term storytelling around the bloodline and Mania, it wouldn't make as much sense. But again, like I said earlier, it's WWE. Anything can happen at the moment.
Very, very excited. Anything can happen. Of course, with our guest joining us as well. We've got Daniel Wiley. Thanks for coming out, buddy. And it is your birthday, mate. Daniel, thanks so much for joining us on your special day. Really do appreciate every time you tune in to the channel here. And everyone tuning in, whether it's your birthday or not, thank you very much for joining us. But a special shout out there, of course, to Daniel. So you're going 10 to 15%, Michelle.
Yeah, I am. I think they've hyped up this Cody thing at Mania for so long, and there's all this chit chat still about The Rock, and there's all this chit chat around Jey Uso. I just think, I don't know. Everyone loves an underdog story, though. And fun fact: the shade of lipstick I'm wearing is actually called Underdog. I wore it especially for today.
Wow, that is commitment.
We're not endorsing brands, so I won't tell you what brand.
All right, let's. Mekz, are you wearing any kind of special makeup for this show, or not?
Unfortunately not, but I think if we talk of percentages, it sounds crazy because obviously there's 2 people and anyone can likely win, but it's 0% that Sami will come out.
Okay.
Let's be honest. Now it's not what I want. Okay. I would like the percentage to be higher somewhat, but we've looked at the names that Roman's put to one side. Fairly easy in some cases. Sami is probably, if we're being honest, at the bottom of the names of that list in terms of built-up contenders. But the story is so good, it's what makes us believe. And I've been saying it today. If somehow Sami does this surpasses what Eddie Guerrero done against Lesnar. This surpasses what Daniel Bryan done, at WrestleMania 30. This surpasses what the certain Mr. Benoit done, at WrestleMania as well. This is one of the greatest underdog stories. If Sami pulls this off tonight, I just don't see it happening, though.
They're not afraid of cutting down a hometown hero, as we found out last year at Clash.
No. Well, okay. That's a good one. I want to get back to that actually in a moment. But Alistair, moving on to you, mate. Percentage-wise, Sami Zayn, what are we looking at?
Yeah, I'd have to go with about 15. Like, I want it to happen so desperately. Like, the first pay-per-view I ever stayed up to watch was to see Eddie win the title. When I was like 13, like it was the first time I was allowed to stay up to watch it live, and I'm getting those exact kind of feelings going into this. I'd love it to happen more than anything, but the story, even Sami's story's been him and Jey more than him and Roman, so it almost makes sense to end it at Mania. Roman now over 900 days, it almost makes sense that his story ends at Mania. I just wish that could be Sami, but then it's too perfect for Sami to get his shot in Montreal. So I think it's an issue of timing. I think maybe if they could go with Sami at Mania, they would have done, but it's got to come tonight. And I think it's just too early for Roman to drop it, unfortunately.
Mate, I agree. I think I'm somewhere in the middle of all of you there. I'm going to go, my percentage would be 5 to 10, maybe leaning towards 10, just because of kind of random reports coming out the past few days. But I think that might have been leaked to kind of give us that optimism. But yeah, I agree. Look, I think it would be fantastic. Mekz, I think you make some great points there as far as what it's comparable to. And yeah, I think if it does get pulled off, I mean, they're big statements, but I think you might be right. It could be the biggest underdog kind of shock of all time. But the likelihood of it, I don't know, which is a real shame. And Alice, I want to pick up what you said there as well. Timing, you know, I say it so often on these streams myself that I think sometimes you're just a victim of bad timing, which is weird when you've got two kind of great things. You're blessed with two amazing storylines falling on your lap. And you think, oh, that's almost a bad thing, you know, because of the way you can't get the most out of them. So I do think the best thing they should do, as much as I would love it to have been Sami Zayn, the fact is it's not WrestleMania. The fact is we're close to WrestleMania. And the fact is, like you said as well, Alistair, 900 days. That's not worthy of losing it at the Chamber, in my opinion, you know. So is Sami a worthy character, storyline, wrestler? 100%. It's just not worked out that way. And it's clearly not where they're going with it. And a lot of times, Daniel Bryan, case in point, they clearly weren't going with Daniel Bryan and they were willing to change that. But are they willing to change it at the Chamber? I don't think so. And I think the better story to tell, to get the best out of both worlds, is the Cody one and then the two Montreal guys teaming up to face the Usos at WrestleMania. Let's get into let's go around again then, and we'll stick with this match because I think this is the one we're all kind of excited about the most, even though we all think we know what's going to happen. It's crazy. We're so excited about a predictable match, it seems. But let's go with Michelle then. If that is the case, Sami Zayn's not winning it. What do you want to see go forward as far as WrestleMania, and how do you want to see it go down tonight? Do you think it's a Jey Uso turn? Do you think Jey Uso stays with Sami? What are we seeing?
It's really hard, isn't it? Because there's all this whole the Usos aren't allowed in Canada, and yes, they are, and blah 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 blah. I think Kevin Owens appears at some point. We haven't seen or heard from him since the Rumble. We've got to remember he's Canadian as well. Having him come out will add to the pop tonight for Sami, I think. It's about whether he betrays Sami, whether Jey teams up with Sami. I think there's a lot of talk around main event Jey Uso and splitting him from Jimmy because of how well he's been executing the Bloodline storyline. Long term, can they keep the Usos separate? Because they're one of the proper genuine tag team packages, aren't they? Like, does it play out at Mania? Do they split the belts and one goes to Cody, one goes to Sami? Like, there's lots of options. I'd like to see them split the belts actually, and maybe give Sami a run at one, even if it's just for a little while. I think we've as great as Raymond's reign, if you pardon the pun, has
always
been.
Hard to say that one. Yeah,
it's really hard, isn't it? I think we've had a lot of very long-standing champions for long periods of time, and it seems like they just want to make it longer and longer and longer to break the record. And I think we may go through a little flurry of shorter championship reigns if they split the belts, or if Cody or Sami take one. But then look at wrestlers like Seth Rollins, for example. Does Sami need a belt? Does he need a championship to be over? I don't think he does.
No, he's clearly over already. So yeah.
I don't know what I want to happen. I don't know what I want to happen, but I definitely want to see a bit more airtime for Jey, and I do want to see Sami continue being a part of the main event picture for a while because I think he's really earned it.
Yes. See, I don't. If I'm honest, I don't think he will be. I think it'll go into a tag thing. I mean, there is a chance that we've got 2 nights of Mania. You know, one belt. It seems easy to do, and you kind of then can maybe get the best of both worlds and take both titles off of him. You know, and I'm not sure if that is what they'll do, but then that kind of seems against what seems the obvious thing to do, which is the Uso storyline. And again, you get Jey Uso, whether or not you keep him with his brothers and his cousin, or whether or not you separate. Because I love the main event Jey Uso stuff. And I was always annoyed, as much as I've enjoyed this Bloodline storyline, I was so annoyed that they both accepted him very early on, and we never ever saw anything change about that up until recently, where Jay's kind of shown some doubt, and it looks like he always had this in the back of his mind and whatever else. But I think the big thing to do tonight is Jey turning for the. I mean, one of the biggest amounts of heel heat I think we would ever see in history would be Jay, destroying the chances of Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens coming in for the save. But so I think it is going down the tag title route. But Mekz, what are you thinking, mate? Are we going tag titles with this, or are we going with Sami doesn't do it tonight, but he gives another chance at Mania? Because if there is a time to take it off of someone, it is Mania. So that kind of defeats the kind of argument of, well, not Sami tonight, but maybe Sami in the future.
Yeah, I think it's probably the tag title route. I think Michelle was right in kind of alluding to there's a lot of other big characters in this story that probably do surface during this match. Jey Uso or the Usos, Kevin Owens, even if it's, Kevin Owens to come out at the very, very end and pick up the bones and, get that applause, that's something that's very likely. I've said, we're going to see Roman Reigns' best 2.999 kick out tonight. Like, I'm very sure Sami's going to win this title tonight, and there's going to be no ref present or something's going to happen. Like, after all, this is Montreal, so I'm sure they'll come knocking on the door of history in one way, shape, or the other. But yeah, I think the main thing is to now build that tag team match. A lot of people are calling it a downgrade. I don't see it as a downgrade, depending how they handle it. I would like to see Jey Uso be present there firstly, and then, cost Sami to kind of show his allegiance, and then maybe sounds too sinister, but absolutely batter Sami to really help. But it's to really help motivate that match, to create that sympathy for us to care about that WrestleMania match. And it's difficult because I've always been an advocate since they started doing 2 nights that the women's Royal Rumble the winner should always get that main event, and even if it's night 1, like, it's only fair, right? But we have to be honest with ourselves, and no story in the women's division right now takes precedence even over if this turns into a tag team situation. So this match can still be very important if we get a tag team in the main event of night 1, Usos defending against Sami and Kevin Owens. I think that's probably the best way to handle it. Like I say, the women will be like, they'll fall casualty to that, I guess. But this story does deserve it at this point.
Definitely some great points there, Mekz. Let's move over to Alice here as well, mate. What are you thinking? Is it a good idea to transfer this potential Sami fuel and heat into a tag match, or is this too much of a downgrade for Sami Zayn, considering what he's done over the past year?
I don't know if it's too much of a downgrade. Like, ideally, I'd love them to split the titles and give him one on night 1 of Mania. It'd be incredible. But I do think it's going to be, Jay costing him, full-on beat down. KO comes to save him. At the end, you get that massive pop. Montreal goes home very happy because they're seeing the 2 best friends actually get one up over the bloodline. And then you build to, like I was saying, Sami's story has been a lot to do with Jay not accepting him at first, finally winning him over. Jay was even at the middle of sort of Sami turning and betraying the bloodline, all of that. So I think it makes sense to end it there. Usos have still had an incredible long reign as well, so there is still something historic that he's getting to break. And Sami kind of get the best of every world. Then he'd get to main event, a pay-per-view, a premium live event in his hometown, in front of that kind of crowd with this kind of momentum, and then he'd get to finally win the tag titles in WWE with his best friend.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's a downgrade when you look at it that way anyway. Like, I feel still, and then there's a chance always by the summer you could bring him back into the title picture and give him that another run. But then it's the strange thing, like Cody's story doesn't need him to beat Roman, whereas it feels like Sami's kind of does. So it's just there's a lot going into it, which is exciting. It means even if it's just 15%, there's still that little bit of doubt tonight going in that you don't quite know what's going to go down.
Definitely. I think exactly that as well. What you said about the Cody situation is it doesn't need Roman. It's about the title, whereas Sami's situation is about Roman. And it's such a twist we've got ourselves in here. We've got a few extra comments here. DKW says, Lucas here. Good watch so far, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, Lucas. Roman Reigns is ever ready to beat anybody anytime, mate. It seems that way. It's been that way for quite a while, and I think it's going to be that way tonight. I don't think it will go that way at WrestleMania. I do think something's in the water at the moment as far as a change in the title picture. But I think we're all in agreement. It doesn't look like it's going to happen tonight. But it doesn't mean it's not an exciting show. It doesn't mean it's not going to be an exciting match. I think, Mekz, you made a great point there about the 2.99 kick out. I got goosebumps almost like The Rock would say. Just hearing you kind of describe that, because I think that's going to be incredible. We did say on our preview we did the other day on this channel, actually, that one of the predictions was that there will be a 3 count, and it'll be almost like, I guess, like a Chris Jericho in 2000 situation where you think he's won it, but then it gets reversed, which will annoy a lot of people. And there's always that risk that heat transfers weirdly into Cody because he's not Sami. I know that's been a big debate lately, but I think ultimately they could easily put that into no, this is Roman heat. It's all about Roman and whatever else. So I think they're kind of there are a few risks and a few kind of things they could kind of traps they could fall down here. But I do think for the most part, it seems straightforward to me, at least, what to do. We talked earlier on as well about like I guess like missed opportunities and the right timing and stuff like that. SmackDown, right? For me, it told me that was his moment. It was Montreal, and that's we're not getting it tonight. As much as I think the entrance tonight would be great, I couldn't wait for Worlds Apart to come back. Like I said, I've been singing it all day. So excited. It was fantastic. I do wish the first time was at the Chamber.
Yeah.
But the fact it wasn't kind of makes me think even more so that that was because that night. I mean, it wasn't. Look, it was a great moment, but the promo didn't have much substance to it, did it? It was just basically like me in Montreal. It's me in Montreal. Which look, it was great. Don't get me wrong. That was great. I loved it, but it wasn't exactly selling a match in the same way that we usually see. In a way that made me think he's going to do it. But the thing is, the side that makes me do think maybe he can do it is, and we mentioned it earlier on, Cardiff, like the UK. I was convinced it's got to be true. It just makes sense. Coming out of the situation, I was like, well, long term, I guess it makes sense to keep it on Roman, but like, what a missed opportunity. I honestly think tonight is going to be Cardiff 2.0, and what was Tyson Fury singing for us is Kevin Owens saving Sami Zayn for Montreal. That's the way
Which
I
is
see it.
infinitely better. No one needed to hear Tyson Fury. I don't know though, but you know what? With WWE Creative are on a real roll at the moment, and they could be deliberately laying a false trail so we all think Sami's not going to do it tonight. You just don't know with them at the moment.
And I don't know if like having the music come back last night, I don't know if that was necessarily because you're not getting a big moment tonight. It was also he got basically 7-8 minutes to just soak up an ovation that he won't get with Roman getting ready for his entrance. Like it was time for him to just really soak it in, enjoy himself. I really enjoyed the promo personally. I thought it was intense. It was nice to see a bit of passion from him. He didn't need to say much more because the story's been built up so well by himself, Heyman, Roman, and just the last however many months of TV. It was nice to see just a bit of intensity.
Haven't they?
Yeah, and you got Sami just showing a lot of confidence because he had everyone around him. Like I thought it was a good way to add a bit more doubt to it, and show a bit of belief in Sami as well.
Yeah, definitely. Mekz, what are you thinking, mate, about Worlds Apart and the potential of they've blown it all at once?
That's exactly how I felt. When he came out, I was like, it's back, but why didn't they just keep it for the pay-per-view? It was a great moment. He stood there in that ring and he shed some tears, and about 7-8 minutes just soaked up everything from Sami chants to Ole chants to F Roman chants to like everything. The crowd went through the greatest hits on kind of giving Sami that kind of respect and ovation. I don't think he needed to say too much, and the passion of it all kind of got to him as well. Even delivering it, he nearly fell into the ring as well. But I think tonight will be special in terms of the ovation he gets as well, and he could go one step further and kind of adorn that old school, the NXT look, buzz cut, and come out with the
flat
with his tights and everything, and everything. He really could. But I really don't see, if he is to win tonight. I mean, we're all gonna love it for the moment. But where does Roman go? Like,
what's the future?
I just don't know. And with the 900 days kind of, that is passed now a couple of days ago, they're surely waiting for him to, surpass 1,000, I would think. So even at WrestleMania is
still a
Cody
chance
winning? It's really kind of hard to tell. But this is the kind of booking, a lot of us have been kind of begging for at this point. Like unpredictable, great storytelling throughout. So we can't complain it's here. But I know it probably feels a bit like we can't see how this is being handled.
But I mean, you talked about it going beyond 1,000 days. This takes beyond Mania, and actually, are they looking actually to SummerSlam? Are they really going on? Because I feel like, I mean, I only really got back into WWE a couple of years ago, and for me, it just feels like SummerSlam, they seem to be building more than they used to. I don't know. That could just be being sentimental, and I wonder if things come full circle there, because it will be like pretty much 3 years.
But then you don't get. I mean, whoever you go with at SummerSlam, who knows? Maybe The Rock's in the picture again. But whoever it is, you kind of missed both opportunities, then, haven't you? You know, you've missed the Cody story and the Sami story, and imagine that. Like, we got to be getting one slam dunk, guys.
But one thing I would say, if they are kind of more so targeting SummerSlam, so that, you know, Roman's got this modern day record, and even if it is going to be Cody again, remember what's happening in between. Money in the Bank. And if Sami walks out with Money in the Bank and Cody's the number one contender and Roman's still a champion, we've almost got the exact same situation again. But now it's at SummerSlam. And, you know, even if Cody was to win on the night and then Sami cashes in on him, like...
Or Cody wins one belt and Sami cashes in on the other or something. There's real potential there. There is real potential there.
I think the only thing for me with that is... then why are they doing what they're doing tonight with Sami? Why did they not hold off all the way till then? He could have still been in the bloodline at the moment, you know? So
yeah, but what else could he do in Montreal that would be that special? Like, this is a kind of once. I know he said it was a cliche once in a lifetime. Like, it is getting to headline.
And
his hometown.
I've heard a few Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, which I think would have been good, but not the same. You know, not not the way this has gone. No.
Like,
yeah,
it's strange because like when Cheap Plug, when I chatted to Sami in October, and he was saying even then, like, he cares more about the story than the titles, and he likes being involved in title scenes because it means the match feels more important. But it's just about telling those stories and the cliche, but of the journey of it and getting to hit the right emotions and focus on the character. Like he was saying, the conspiracy theory stuff and Johnny Knoxville is some of the favorite work he's ever done because there was such big reactions to it and getting to feed into all of that. So I think, at least from his point of view, he'll be loving this.
Yeah, no, I agree. Even at watched that interview in Bavaria Hawani the other day as well, where about a few weeks ago, same sort of thing. And I know a lot of people have given him kind of that jackass thing, but like I loved the jackass match. I thought it was still incredible. Mate, I didn't even notice. Maybe it's because I'm of a certain generation where jackass still means a lot to me, like from my youth. But like I just thought it was so entertaining. And I think Sami did the best with it, as he always does. Sami and even guys, I think like the Miz, you give them anything and they will make it work. And I think that was a good. Sami's been a great example of that. Kevin Owens has been a great example of that past few years. I think even Baron Corbin's been a good example of that. These random characters and things like that as well. You mentioned the cheap plug there, Alistair. Don't you worry, mate. We are all about cheap plugs here on this channel. I'm going to give you all the chance to kind of plug your channels as well. And also, here's a little graphic here, guys, of how you can find these guys. Of course, Dom's not here just yet, and neither is Andy, but we're going to bring him in just a moment. But Alistair and Mekz, you can find them on their Instagram handles, Twitter handles there. And if you check the description on the YouTube channel here as well, you'll also see some YouTube links as well. But we mentioned there Andy and Dom, so I think this is a good time to bring those two fellas in as well. So here we go. Andy's here and Dom's here. Look, it's like a full chamber now. There's 6 of us. What's going on?
Who's going in last?
Who's getting eliminated first? We'll see that. But hey, Andy, Dom, how you guys doing? Let's start with Dom. Go on, mate.
Oh man, yeah, I'm good. What a wonderful collection of people.
Mate, especially now you're here, buddy.
Yeah, I got back from Iceland a few hours ago. I'm gearing up for a night of potentially being awake for 26 hours. So it's gonna be good. We're doing New Japan over on Gimme a Hull, so it's gonna be a long night for me. But I'm starting it with you guys.
We got the not Sasha, but Mercedes Moné return to the ring as well, right? So, wow, again, keep saying it, but what time to be a wrestling fan? Andy, how are you feeling, mate? Are you globe trekking as well?
No, but I'm probably running about the same amount of sleep as my son was born yesterday. So
congrats.
Thanks, guys. I mean, I did nothing. I sat there and watched. So I appreciate the round of applause, though.
Hey, maybe it wasn't for you then. But hey, you know what? This is a good time to mention. Rob, of course, usually on the build-up show. You never guess what? his wife's about to give birth as well. So shout out to Rob, who apparently both of them are watching in the hospital right now. Much appreciated, buddy. And I hope she's squeezing your hands so much that it hurts. Anyway, congratulations to you, Andy, and your partner, and to your newborn, of course. And yeah, Rob, hoping for great news coming very soon as well. Wow, what an exciting time. Maybe we'll get those on the pod as well. 2 newborns very soon. Who knows? So let's pick up kind of where we left off at the end of the Sami match. We're going to move back on to Sami and Roman in a bit to give Dom and Andy the chance to talk about it as well. But we'll cycle around just a little bit, just so we're not kind of boring Mekz and Alistair with the same conversation just yet as well. So let's move on to, well, what this show's actually named after. And it's the fact that we have an Elimination Chamber match, of course, not one, but 2. We've got a women's Elimination Chamber match, which of course is the number 1 contenders match for Bianca Belair's title. But we've also got a US title match as well, which I'm very, very happy to see as well. It's great to see the secondary title being put in a situation like this. So before we swing it back to the guys that have just jumped on, let's first hand over to Michelle. And if you could sum up your thoughts on both those chamber matches, Michelle, what are you thinking about them?
Well, I was thinking I think it's really good that with the women, we've actually got a women's event at PLE that isn't about Becky, Bianca, Charlotte, or Bayley. And I love all 4 of them, but I think it is important that these women are getting the opportunity to shine, but they have got to make the most of it tonight, because people talk about those 4 and their dominance, and they're brilliant on the mic and brilliant athletes. And this is their time to shine. Definitely. Really, really excited. Obviously, they've got a couple of experienced hands in the women's chamber, and Natalya and Asuka, who can hold a match together if the kind of the less experienced girls are having a little bit of a wobble. In terms of who's going to win, I'm somewhere between Raquel and Asuka. I think they're starting to build Raquel as a bit of a powerhouse, someone who potentially further down the line challenges Rhea for that big, strong girl title. The men's chamber match, I'm really, really excited about. Some of my favorites are in it. In fact, pretty much all of my favorites are in it. But we all know, as much as I would love Mr. Rollins or Mr. Priest to win, I don't think either of them are going to tonight. But I think you've got 6 very, very different kinds of wrestlers in the chamber for the men's match. And I think it has the potential to be really, really strong. They've been building this momentum around Priest and Ford recently, and I think we could see that play out in a really interesting dynamic. And they've both had some quite long matches recently as well, so I think they'll probably go in quite early and be like your Iron Men of the match, as it were. Nice to see Johnny Gargano getting a little bit of a push. I love a bit of Johnny wrestling. And Seth, I'd love Seth to win. He's my favourite. We all know he's my favourite. I've got my shirt on today. But I think he's already making noises about wanting to be a part of the main event at WrestleMania as well. And do they give him a belt? And they're trying to have this big push on Theory, aren't they? I don't see him dropping the title tonight, if I'm being honest. But I think both have the potential to be really, really good matches. But I think the girls tonight, they've got a big job on their hands. But I think they've put some safe hands in there that I think are going to carry the match if they need to.
That's a very good point you make there, especially about the veterans in the women's match. Gamer for life _32_ hello and a wave emoji, buddy. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, for Dom's channel here, give me a hell yeah, let's go. Okay, right. Thank you to everyone that's watching along, guys, whether you watch live or on demand. I know a lot of people do watch the build up on demand, which always kind of shocks me, because I think, well, we're hyping yourself and ourselves up for a show here tonight. But of course, a lot of these interesting conversations do go beyond what we're talking about tonight as well. So we really do appreciate everyone that watches live or on demand. So drop your comments, let us know what you think is going to happen tonight. Or again, if you are watching on demand and you're watching after the show, so let us know what you thought of maybe some of the conversations we're having here tonight as well. Let's hand it back over to Mekz, mate. What are you thinking about the 2 chamber matches? Which one are you most looking forward to? And what do you think about being number 1 contenders and a kind of mid-card title that we're seeing represented in these chamber matches?
I think it's really good. I think, like, you know, having the women's chamber match again means something. Like, this is a number 1 contendership for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania, so it definitely means something. It's big business. I can't look past Asuka. I think with the character reboot, you know, shades of Kana from her time in Japan, I think it would be a waste if she doesn't win this, yet she's kind of refreshed her character. Raquel is obviously someone that they're building, and I think she seems to be the internet wrestling community's sentimental favorite, but I think this one has maybe just come a bit too early for her. I probably see her and Liv rekindling their friendship and entering WrestleMania as like a tag team for maybe the women's tag championships in some multi-woman match of some kind. But really between Asuka, Liv and Raquel, I think those are the ones. But I think Asuka for me in the women's chamber, and then the men's is the one that is really kind of scrambling me as to picking a definite winner. I think the likes of Priest has been excellent over the last few weeks on TV. He's been very, very good. Montez, Bronson, Reed, Johnny Gargano, I think they've pretty much been told, this is kind of breakout moment territory for you guys. Obviously, we know Montez is in a tag team, but he is the one that's kind of touted to be the guy once that tag team maybe breaks up one day. And I think Gargano and Bronson Reed have had a bit of a slow start to re-emerging on WWE TV. Whatever happens for them will be obviously post-Mania, I think. But this is now the time to kind of make a big shout and have a good appearance here. Which leaves the champion, Theory, and Rollins. Now, it's easy to kind of say that Theory retains, and then Mania possibly looking at maybe an open challenge. A certain Mr. Cena might answer, but for me, in my own head, in my own little world, I'm kind of sold that Rollins wins here, and we go on to WrestleMania to have a US title match with Logan Paul, and Logan Paul wins.
Whoa!
I think it's just literally for business. The Super Bowl was plastered with Logan Paul doing all the Saudi Arabia stuff. That's not a WWE ad. That's just Logan Paul's life that they, it's a free advert for WWE basically. So the guy's doing a lot of stuff outside of WWE, whether you like him or not. He's a walking billboard right now, and to be carrying around the US title, especially if they have ambitions of splitting the WWE championships and then having an actual champion on Raw, you won't be so reliant on the US championship anymore, is what I feel. And the story they're telling right now between Rollins and Logan Paul is that this guy doesn't care. Like he just pops up whenever he wants. So. Rub salt in the wounds, let him take one of the titles with him, and I'm just kind of sold on that, even though I know it's a bit far-fetched, but yeah.
No, mate, now that you mention it, I haven't thought of that once. I mean, when we did our predictions the other day, I was like, well, personally, I think Theory, because I think it'll go into the Cena thing. There's a history of Cena with the title, and it looks like they're going that way anyway. Does it need the title? No, but it kind of does still also add to the story, elevates the title. But what you've said there, I hadn't even thought of, and I think that's not a bad shout either. So, Alistair, what are you thinking about that prediction? But and then overall, what you think about the two chambers?
Yeah, that not just that come to mind, the idea, because Logan Paul, I don't like what I've seen from him or what portrays on social media as a person, but I think he's showing he's very good so far. Thought him and Roman had a great match. Him and Seth will have a fantastic match at Mania, and yeah, it makes perfect sense. Everyone knows who he is. He is everywhere, especially with Prime, which is infuriating. But anyway, it does make perfect sense. And it doesn't feel like too much of a gimmick in the way it would give in another celebrity the belt, because he has signed a contract. He is having semi-regular matches, a few a year at least. And I think it'd be a great shout. But I was leaning towards Theory, open challenge at Mania, and then Cena to come out. But I think it's between those kind of two scenarios for it. I think in terms of that match, we'll see Montez probably go the distance and at the beginning and get close to the end. Should be a breakout for him. Him doing the frog splash off the top of one of the pods is definitely going to happen, and it's going to be great. And yeah, for the women's one, I agree. You can't really look past Asuka for it. It'd be a waste after the way they've completely revamped her from the Rumble. She's looking incredible with the work she's doing, the makeup, bringing, like I say, the kind of character back. It's translated really well on WWE TV. And I think it'll be Raquel getting through, again, entering at number one, getting through to the very end of the chamber, and then carrying her push, but falling short to Asuka. And then we'll get Asuka and Bianca putting on an incredible match at Mania.
Cool. Okay, so just quickly touching on the women's stuff. I was saying the other day that it doesn't feel ready-made. The past few years, it feels about making new stars. So I think the Raquel thing seems the obvious route, but I do think, agreeing with you guys, that I think the Asuka one, you bring her back to be a new character. or an old character, you could say. It's surely for a reason. But who knows? We've seen stranger things before. Otterbong says, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us, buddy. Really do appreciate you. And let's move on to Andy. What do you think about the women's chamber, mate? Asuka, is it the old blood, the new blood? And what are you thinking about the US title? Are we going with Theory, or are we going with someone like Seth Rollins to eventually drop it to a Mr. Logan Paul?
So I think we'll start with the women's match in particular. I agree with everything that's been said so far. I think it's very difficult to look past Asuka, but I'd also say there's a lot of momentum on social media behind Liv Morgan as well. So I wouldn't discount her from having like a good showing, but I can't see her going the whole way. She does seem very popular on social media for a multitude of reasons. Probably similar to when Sasha Banks was there. She has very vocal fans. I'm not putting her in the same league as Sasha Banks or anything like that, but I think she's definitely improved. So it's nice to see her involved and still being involved in the kind of main event scene. But I would like to see a little bit more from the kind of new character development, because so far from Asuka, when she's come back, yeah, it's cool that the face paint's different, but it's still very much the same, but just a slightly different image. But for me, I think when you look at who's in it, you reverse book it from what's going to make the best WrestleMania match. So you look at who the opponent for, on the other side from Bianca Belair. The last 2 years, she's faced two of the horsewomen. So really, out of the ones who are actually in the chamber, to me, there's only one obvious choice that can make a decent WrestleMania match. I don't think, as much as Raquel in particular has kind of improved, I don't think she'd sell particularly or shift amounts of pay-per-view buys or premium live event buys. So I think you can't really look past her too far. With the men's, I think it's very hard to call, but I am really glad to see this is like a sort of shine on the US title more than anything, because for too long, I think we've been stuck in this era of everything's about the main belts and nothing else. Well, this is kind of putting paid to that. This is giving a big match and a big focus on it. And it's great. And I think I'd really just like to see some good showings from Johnny Gargano in particular, and Montez Ford. I think it's nice to see them again. They did the same with New Day, where they're not necessarily breaking a tag team up, but they are giving individuals within that team a chance to kind of shine as well. So really interested to see what he can do. I know you, again, I think I brought this up last time, you've got good previous with Montez Ford, so I know you'll be backing him after your interview in Cardiff.
Yeah, no, one of the most surreal experiences of my entire life. If you haven't seen that already, please check it out on this channel, where Montez Ford, well, I can't even describe it. Check it out, guys. But yeah, I like what you're saying there, though, mate, about sort of what they did with the New Day, of course, especially when, if someone gets injured or something like that. It is annoying when a member of the team gets injured, then they just kind of go, you're on the shelf as well then, mate. So I am happy to see kind of people step into singles roles within a tag team and not have to break up. Although I do have a sneaky feeling, I think like we all do, that eventually it's coming. But we'll see from there. Dom, mate, what are you thinking about these two matches and these crazy but very interesting predictions we're getting so far?
Yeah, it's interesting to get everybody's takes. I think a lot of my stuff isn't very different from what you guys are putting out there. So I expect Montez to go the distance. Montez was a huge surprise for me. I've long said, I think to all of you in different points, I've often said that Montez is just a star in the making. You can see it when he talks to the media, when you can see it when, in the ring. I think he's incredible. That's taking nothing away from Angelo Dawkins, of course, as well. But certainly Montez is he's being positioned, I think, over the coming years as a star. So I expect him to go the distance, as was said there. I expect him to have a great showing. For me, though, this is Theory's time. Again, that John Cena, if they're not getting The Rock at Mania, then Cena's a pretty decent, he's going to sell some tickets, right? Whether it's an open challenge at Mania and we get some kind of hint that it's going to be Cena to help, sell more tickets is another thing. But certainly Cena and Theory seems like a mouth-watering rivalry. I do agree that I think Seth would have been a great pick for this as well. But again, going towards that main event scene via Logan Paul seems to be the direction there. And again, a great way to get Logan Paul in at Mania is to have him face off against one of the hottest properties in WWE in Seth. So for me, it's Theory going to win this, but I expect great showings from Montez, from Gargano as well. Obviously, Johnny Wrestling. I think this is going to be his proving ground since he came back to prove that he can hang in this type of big match. And that's not forgetting, of course, well, it was Jonah in Impact, but I think there are other talents in this that will shine as well. In terms of the women's match, I'm pleased to see talents like Liv in there. Obviously, Natalya in there for the Montreal pop as well. There's a great bunch of talents in there. For me, my heart says Asuka, but my head says, I think they're really trying to push Raquel. But I understand what you're saying. I hadn't really thought about it in terms of buy rates. It's like Alistair was saying. I think that there's more money in an Asuka Bianca match than there is perhaps a Raquel, and Bianca match. Obviously, I don't think Raquel is too far away from that main event scene. Maybe a little bit more character development, or kind of just a big monster heel. Kind of turn for Raquel would be really interesting there. So for me, in my heart, wants Asuka to win the sort of reach, because I do think, going back to what Andy said there, you're right. It is a slight change, a slight variation on the character, but I do think it's a refresh. I do think it's a much needed refresh and enough of a change up that people are reinvigorated. People are sort of reinterested in Asuka's character. So for me, I think, I'd like to think Asuka is going to win this. So my picks are, to put it simply, Theory to win the men's with a cracking performance from Montez Ford, and Asuka to do the same. Again, I know it's similar, but with Raquel to put in a great showing as the kind of monster of the chamber. I think sadly that Natalya is probably going to be the first one out. I was trying to think of in our predictions. Everyone give me a whole year. I was like, in a dream world, you would have Natalya go down so that another hometown hero could triumph later on, but that's another conversation. But yeah, those are my picks. Cena for the men's and Asuka for the women's for sure.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, I think great points there. I think we'd be robbed of something if we don't see Montez Ford being all exciting and athletic throughout the men's, and Raquel being dominant in the women's. What we're going to do now, though, I understand some of our guests have got to leave us, sadly, so we're having our first two eliminations from the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling Elimination Chamber match, I guess we could say. Firstly being Michelle. Thank you very much for joining us, Michelle. Of course, you can
Thank you for having me, as always.
More from Michelle on this channel and the rest of the Rebellious Noise channels, including the Rebellious Noise Football channel, of course, and also to Alistair, mate. Thank you very much for joining us as well. You can find a lot of his work over on the Metro, where he's covering not the train service or anything like that. We're talking about newspaper, of course, where he is covering wrestling to a fantastic degree over there. And of course, as we mentioned earlier on, we do have the Instagram handles and YouTube links in the description, but also we'll flash some of those up here on the page as well for you to have a little look at, and we'll bring it out throughout the night because it's important, guys, that you give these guys a follow. They're supporting us, we want to support them, and we thank them for joining us very much. So Michelle, Alistair, thank you very much for joining us. Anything you got to say before we get out of here?
It's not happening, but please.
All right, thank you very much, guys. We'll see you hopefully for another build-up show very soon.
See you guys.
See you, Alistair. Thank you. Right, okay. Let's move on to the next match then. One that I'm really somewhat looking forward to, just because I love both these guys working together. Now, we've seen it a few times already, but what adds a weird element of intrigue to it is what happened on SmackDown, which is Bray Wyatt saying, I want either of you. And he don't know why. Uncle Howdy don't know why. I don't know why. Let's hope the booking team know why. But of course, we're talking about the Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley match. Mekz, what are you thinking about this match overall? And then on top of that, what do you think about this Bray Wyatt involvement?
Overall, like I didn't understand why this match was happening at Elimination Chamber, firstly. I did think after Raw this week that Bobby Lashley has looked the best he's ever looked against Lesnar. Like, he outsmarted him. He's clearly taken the heel role within the story, and got the best of him. And then my prediction, was that this match probably isn't really gonna happen. Maybe they both get to the ring, they make the entrances, but a brawl around the ring, officials everywhere. The match never really gets started, and then we have the actual match at Mania. Either that, or the match does commence and we get the reemergence of the Hurt Business trying to help Lashley win and cost him, or something along those lines. And either way, we get like a bit of a fluffed ending. To now kind of following that Bray segment on SmackDown, kind of confirming that it probably is the last in their series, at least for now. And it looks like Bray challenges whomsoever the winner is at WrestleMania. I'm just thinking, I don't understand anything that Bray has said since he's returned. I popped when he came back at Extreme Rules, but since then I've literally been in confusion, and I've watched everything like attentively with my eyes like here, trying to listen like through my eyes, like what is he saying, and I don't understand anything. And now for him to be inserted into something that really and truly should be blown off at WrestleMania. Like I said, it was a bit of a funny choice why it was here anyway. I'm gutted. I won't even lie. I'm really gutted, and I don't know what the direction is. Yeah, mate, I would agree. So first of all, I want to preface this by kind of doing a bit of what you've done there, of saying I'm just very confused about Bray at the moment. I love Bray, so excited when he come back. Hit and miss some of the things since, but and also agreeing with you that this match is a WrestleMania worthy match, and I thought we'll be getting there. Even if this feud didn't end tonight, it could be going there. And they've had great show. Look what they've done with kind of randomly going, it's you're going towards the next pay-per-view, you two. Like the first one was completely thrown together, you could tell. Second one kind of felt like that as well. Third one's come at a strange time as well. So it's like, sure, they deserve a WrestleMania match, and all of it's been great. Now it looks like one of them's getting Bray Wyatt, and I've got to be honest, I don't want either of them to be tied up with Bray Wyatt. It doesn't make any sense. Look, can it make sense? Can they make it make sense? I'm sure they could. I'm sure they can make it work. But if you're telling me on the outset, do you want Bray to go after Brock? For me, it doesn't mix. Do you want Bray to go because of the supernatural stuff? I want to see what happens with Uncle Howdy. That's not going to happen with Brock. Do you want to put him with Bobby? No, because I want the Hurt Business. That's got nothing to do with Uncle Howdy. It doesn't. Neither of these storylines mix with Bray for me. So I'm with you, Mekz. I'm kind of disappointed. Andy, what are you thinking, mate? First of all, about the match, and now about the confusion of what's going to come after it.
So I think I might be in the minority here, but I'm kind of glad this match is happening tonight because, and there is a reason why. It's not because I'm bored of it or anything like that. I was so amped when Brock Lesnar faced off in the ring at the Royal Rumble against Gunther. So my hope from this is, unfortunately for Bobby, he's going to be the one who has to go against Bray. And then at Mania, we might get an IC match between Brock and Gunther, which is kind of one of those things is like, if we get that, does it make up for that one? There has to be a reason. And I think they've probably built enough credit in terms of Triple H and the creative team to let us see where this goes before we kind of completely like kibosh it. I think it's a bit left field, but I'm guessing there's a reasoning behind it. So what that reasoning is, we'll probably have a slow burn from now until WrestleMania. We'll understand nothing, as you said, about what Bray says. But there are things that to look forward to within it, if it is Bobby in particular, because Bobby Lashley's very like straight down the line, like, you know, this wears his suits, he enjoys kind of like just beating people up. He's like, you know, he's probably his best self in at least WWE that he's ever been. And then Bray speaks in riddles. He's like a little bit kind of like, yeah, grimy, dirty side of things. He's kind of a lot of ways he is the antithesis of Bobby Lashley. So that could work if they spin it that way. Weird because one's Raw and one's SmackDown, so we're very much in an era of it doesn't matter what brand they're on, they're just going to have to do whatever whenever they can. But there isn't another premium live event between now and WrestleMania, so whoever they go against, they do have time to flesh it out a little bit and make it make sense, hopefully. But the LA Knight thing didn't really make too much sense until, they gave it way too much time. So we'll see. I think in terms of the match, I think Bobby is winning. I think it makes sense. I think he can't really afford to lose another big feud, whereas Brock Lesnar's Brock Lesnar. He can come in and take a loss and still be Brock Lesnar when he comes back next time. So I think Bobby needs it a bit more, and I think he'll get it. I'm hoping it'll be at least, like a 5-10 minute match. I don't think you need much more when it's these two kind of guys where they're just going to, beat each other up for a little bit. There's no finesse behind it or anything. Just let them go. But I'm sure Dom's desperate to talk about Bray's latest one.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dom, I'm sure you're excited for Brock and Lashley, but I know you're excited to talk about Bray Wyatt. So let's see your take on the two of those things, mate.
Well, it's interesting because I get what Mekz is saying, and of course, me and Andy have talked, for hours over on the Gimme a Hell Yeah podcast on SmackDown streams in recent weeks. I'm a huge Bray fan. He's my favorite performer. And he obviously has a rabid fan base as well that I interact with quite regularly. And it's interesting because I've been the kind of the devil's advocate in that fan base, going, actually, guys, this needs to work with a wider audience. This, all these communities that are there around Bray, they're like, oh, this is genius. This is creative, freedom, and it's wonderful. And I'm like, yeah, but that's great. If you're weirdos like us and, the kind of alternative community into that kind of stuff, but it has to work and it has to communicate to the wider wrestling fan. And so for me, I was overjoyed when Bray came back. I've talked to most of you guys about this. I've been like Mekz was saying, I haven't always understood everything. I've been a little bit disappointed in that because we were promised what was going to be a revamp of the Bray character, and it felt like sometimes we've got more of the same, and that's fine for people like myself into horror and into magic in wrestling. I love The Fiend. I like blackouts and I like spooky stuff because I go to wrestling for escapism, right? But that's me, and that's obviously a massive subsection of the fandom. But the majority of wrestling fans, they want to see wrestling. So I think that's one of the issues where Bray hasn't quite communicated. And very interesting point made by Andy that if he goes up against Bobby, and I think that's where they're going with this, because again, Bobby can't afford to lose that feud going into WrestleMania, whereas Brock Lesnar is going to sell tickets, in whatever capacity he is at Mania. If that's a Gunther match, I mean that's stuff of dreams, right, guys? But for me, there's one take that I got and I was interested in that could make this work. In that Bobby reforming the Hurt Business could be the catalyst for a new Wyatt faction. Bobby comes in, Bobby and Bray are at odds, and Bobby, hires the Hurt Business back to help him take out Bray and Uncle Howdy. And then, of course, we maybe get a couple more names, whether that's Vincent and Dutch from Ring of Honor, which are names that have been bandied about, or, Eric Rowan or someone like that, a new faction, because, I do think that Bray and Bray's Law is best when it's, the faction members fighting for him, and he is saved for special occasions, things like that. So in short, I'm now more interested in this match than I was. Way more interested. I think that, Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt has been teased for years. They teased it back at the Royal Rumble. They've teased it back at the Royal Rumble. They teased it on a Raw once. So a lot of people want to see that, but I don't think it's the right choice to go into Mania with. But until SmackDown, I thought they were going with Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt. And maybe that's still the plan, and maybe they've got some time to build that. But maybe a feud with a newly reformed, Hurt Business is the vehicle to get them there, and maybe some friction between Howdy and Bray. But yeah, I was excited. I was excited after I saw I woke up at 3 a.m. to leave Iceland this morning, and I watched that, and I was like, oh, awesome, great, because I haven't always done that with Bray stuff since he's been back, and I'm a huge fan. So I was like, oh, this is really interesting because it's different. You never thought Bray would go up against LA Knight when he first came back. which is interesting because it isn't, the stereotypical feuds Bray might find himself in, or you would expect creative to put him in. So actually a Bobby feud, however short or long that goes for, whether it goes to Mania or whether it's a stopgap to Bray Howdy, and Bobby goes on to something else. It's good. I'm interested. I'm intrigued to see what the dynamic will be like between a Bobby Lashley and a Bray Wyatt. Again, very excellent points from both you guys, both Mekz and Andy. It's very odd. It's very different. We don't know what to expect, but actually that's quite exciting. But then I have the rose tinted glasses on, where I'm not forgetting how diabolical the pitch black match was, and but I don't think that's I don't think they're going to put Bobby and Bray in a there's a sponsor for WrestleMania. They're proposing a cereal or something. I don't think they're going to have Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt wrestling in a cereal bowl. I hope that's not going to happen. So, so in short, Bobby wins this and goes on to feud with Bray, and it'll be a very interesting few weeks, and I guess weeks now leading up to WrestleMania. So yeah,
I got to be honest, Dom. You're winning me over. So you're not too far removed from the kind of general fandom, like you say, see it kind of as a wider storyline, because I like the idea of faction versus faction. I think being a child of the Attitude Era, that's always going to be the expense of Hurt Business. I think we need it back. It's one of the best things to happen in that kind of strange period of WWE. It was maybe the best thing for most of the year, to be honest. So that, if we get a faction on the other side, which has of course been rumored, the Wyatt Six and all that kind of stuff, then I'll be pleased to see that. So if we do go into Bobby Lashley because it means faction versus faction, then I'm all for it. I'm just not sure if it's a Mania thing for me, and if it should have been,
I agree,
SummerSlam or something like that. But on the other side of that, then let's say it is going to be Bobby Lashley. What do we do with Brock Lesnar? Of course, the rumors, and as we've mentioned a few times here already, about Gunther. But then there's also the kind of, just as equally salivating to think about, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Gunther. Do we go with a fatal four-way between those guys? Because that would be something I'd be very interested in.
Yeah, they love those matches at Mania too. Those multi-man matches. The ladder match in it for the Intercontinental Championship. They usually have that ladder match, and it's always a tasty.
It's usually high flyers to open up, but we never see big meaty men slapping meat, as they say. So that'll be a good way to do it. I think the four of those guys, and when Brock, I think one of Brock's best matches since he's come back, like in 2014, whatever it was that triple threat at the Rumble with Cena and Seth. The dynamic in that match, I couldn't believe how good he worked in a multi-man match. And even with that, the Rumble, he's always incredible in the Rumble as well. So I'd love to see it. Mekz, what are you thinking? Fatal four-way between those guys, or you got plans for Brock elsewhere?
I mean, that match, like you said, is salivating. Like, we saw what Gunther and Sheamus done at Clash at the Castle. Incredible. One match of the year, I think, for WWE. Like, I have one issue, and this could sound super petty, but I don't want to see Lesnar in an Intercontinental Championship match.
See, I do. I do. I want the title to go up because of Lesnar.
I feel like he could obviously do great stuff. I mean, Gunther's done great stuff for the title in the past year. And Lesnar going after it will definitely raise the profile. But there's something special about Lesnar, just his CV just having world titles on it. And nothing else. And, that's all he's ever really concerned himself with when he cared about wrestling. So I just feel like Lesnar in here feels like you're kind of shoehorning him in. Like, even if he's just a face Gunther at WrestleMania, in my opinion, I would want Gunther to drop the title beforehand, and then them to just have, a slobber knocker ultimately. I don't want to see Lesnar go after the IC title. I just think it'd be really, really weird.
So ultimately, I guess we're maybe missing out on a triple threat that could have happened tonight, where that title did come off of him, and then therefore you get the one-on-one. Or Dom, you look like you got something to say about that.
I completely get what you're saying there, Mekz. He's a main event guy, but a quintessential main event guy, is Brock. But if you stick Brock in a match like that, a multi-man match, then it automatically elevates everybody else in the field.
agree.
You know,
I agree.
Gunther then gets elevated there. You know, if it's one of those more, you know, because I think the ladder matches they've done for the Intercontinental titles, they've been more than 4 men in the past. You know, stick Shelton Benjamin in there. You know, just have Shelton Benjamin in there. Have some other wonderful talents in there as well as Sheamus, as well as Drew, who again, who would look awesome. But you know, Mustafa Ali, let's have a barn burner for the Intercontinental Championship. Let's have a ladder match. You know, let's have Brock in there, and everybody else looks awesome by association. You know, I totally get what you're saying. That again, he is a quintessential main event guy, but maybe he's at a point in his career where he's you know, he's got nothing else to do. You know what I mean? He doesn't have anything to prove. He doesn't have anything to win.
I agree with you in that aspect. Like,
yeah.
you know, we can clearly see he's probably having the best time in his career right now. But I don't even think it's not, for me, it's not a multi-man issue at all. It's Brock chasing the Intercontinental title. Like, straight away, as interesting as the dynamic of him, Drew, Sheamus, and Gunther would be in a ring. And like I said, I would absolutely love to see that match. We immediately know Lesnar is not walking out with the Intercontinental title. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, I feel like Drew could easily walk out. Yeah. I feel like the answer is to have Sheamus walk out, maybe pinning Drew, protecting Gunther. Sheamus and, you know, Drew wouldn't mind doing the honors for Sheamus. Sheamus has been terrific over the last 18 months as well. I just don't like, if Lesnar's going into that match, it's very weird for me to even conceivably believe that Lesnar's walking out with the Intercontinental title. Like, it's just very weird. So that's why I just rather not kind of play those Jedi mind tricks with my brain. Like,
yeah, I get what you mean, man. But then, totally. But like, does that not then elevate if Gunther wins? You know, if he, because you know, there's no pinning in that situation. But if Gunther wins, does that not elevate Gunther massively? Does that not make
Lesnar?
Yeah, I guess a 1-on-1 maybe therefore would do that more. But still, there's the IC kind of dilemma. I mean, Meks's point there about the CV, I completely agree, because we look back on Lesnar's career. As much as I see that, Lesnar bringing out the IC is great, but at the same time, there is something special about the rookie year and never looking back. Like, he was King of the Ring. What was it? WWE title, won the Royal Rumble. And he's never been anywhere below that. So
WWE title, Universal titles, IWGP heavyweight titles, UFC heavyweight titles. He doesn't mess around with anything if it's not the top
he's
heavyweight
not even been
title.
tagged, has he? He's not even had one of those thrown together tag team runs or anything like that. So incredible when you think about that. Of course, this topic was brought up by Andy. So I'm going to bring you back in because we've added some extra bit of spice to this. But what are you thinking as far as Lesnar's CV being a potential kind of stopper for this match?
Yeah, well, it's a difficult one because there is that train of thought of, you know, he only ever goes for the top echelon. Like, that's where he belongs. That's where he sees himself. He'll never do anything different. And he goes out at the peak of his career. You know, you play at the Premier League, you don't want to finish in the Championship or League One. But I would say maybe he's at a stage of career where he's like, well, I'm going to be first ballot Hall of Fame. But when they read out that list of accolades, do I want to be a Grand Slam champion? Do I want to have that on my CV? Because that puts you in top tier, because you only have a handful of people who's won everything. And he could also, let's face it, because he's also won Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, and King of the Ring. So he's only, 3 titles off of winning the lot? And there's only... I'm trying to remember who else he's got that, because I know Sheamus is chasing it, because what are they calling, like the Super Grand Slam or something?
Yeah, is Miz got it?
No, Miz doesn't want to Rumble.
He doesn't want to Rumble. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think there's only one other person who's won.
Is it Rollins? Is it
Seth? It feels like Seth. Yeah,
Rollins hasn't won King of the Ring though, but
yeah. So that's what I mean. Is like, if I get the point, but if you go right, well, he wins the IC title. I can see him winning at WrestleMania purely on the basis. If you look at the Premium Live Event schedule, I think the only one they've got after that imminently is a Saudi show. So he'd probably take the money to go to Saudi and defend the IC belt there. He could drop it there. And then the one after that is Money in the Bank in London. I can see them wanting him to be there. He could drop it at that and give someone a big pop, because maybe that's where we as UK fans, he drops it to Sheamus, because Sheamus can finally get his win not on home turf.
Oh, that's a good point.
So there is options as to how you can get the belt on him and then take it away. But that's the only way. I do agree. He will always be Brock Lesnar, and he should be, I'm the top guy. But it would also be really interesting to see a career go from, normally when you start, you win the mid-card belts and then move up. But Brock Lesnar can do what he wants, and he can go, actually, I've won everything there is to win. Now I'm just like Thanos, trying to collect everything I possibly can. And when I retire, I want to say I won everything, and I'm a legitimate Super Grand Slam winner, whatever I want to say.
Depends what you take, because there's also those rumors that always fly about that Brock just doesn't care. So then I'm like, I don't know if he would. But then I also, like, if you told me both of those things, I'd believe both those things. That Brock is the kind of person that wants to win it all, but Brock is also the kind of person that's like, I just want money. You know, I believe both sides of it. So, but then I think his character work, as we've been saying, it looks like he's been having the time of his life the past, 18 months or whatever else, or beyond that, even going back to the Money in the Bank boombox. He's been reinventing himself, not quite to the level of Chris Jericho, but still, man, like he's been doing things we never expect to see from Brock. So I think that kind of craps all over the theory of Brock doesn't care. Do you know what I mean? So
he's spending 5 hours with Sable every night, then he probably doesn't care about anything else.
Let's get to a quick comment here. You know the deal. Thanks very much for joining us, mate. WWE kind of ruined tonight's match. Lesnar would never do a feud with Bray, thinking hurt business really in denial. Yeah, that's exactly what we were kind of leaning towards, mate. It seems out of the two, now that we've had this kind of chat and go all out in the open, I think it's more likely to be Bobby. I wasn't happy about either kind of direction, but if we're bringing Hurt Business back to go against another feud, which is what Dom was recommending and suggesting there, I think that wouldn't be a bad shout. Should we move on to the next match, guys? I think we got the Judgment Day, represented by Finn Balor, of course, and Rhea Ripley, versus the Grit couple, of course, of Edge and Beth Phoenix. Now, this is another one that could potentially have been a Mania match, but of course, we know Rhea's got something else going on at Mania. So does that come into your kind of thinking of what's going to happen here? And I've seen a few kind of people predict this past week that, yes, it means Rhea has to look strong, so therefore she will win. I've seen other people say, well, it's a good opportunity to have Edge win the feud and she doesn't have to take the pin. It can go on Balor as well. So I could see both sides of that. I'm kind of hopscotching around to figure out what I think is going to happen. But Mekz, let's go on to you, mate. What are you thinking? Judgment Day doing it? Grit team doing it? Is this the end of the feud? What's happening?
I wish it was the end of the feud, because it's just been a bit of a cycle of Edge returns, gets beaten up by Judgment Day, disappears, Edge returns, gets beaten up, and it's just going on and on and on. I do think that the Grit couple need the win here, and I think they get the win. And yeah, Rhea needs to look strong, but I guess Rhea won't be pinned. And then I think that could then still feed back into the story with Charlotte of, her saying that she's now on Charlotte's level and Charlotte's disagreeing. But obviously she takes the loss as a team, but, she didn't get pinned herself. I think they still have plans to do something with Balor and Edge at WrestleMania. And that's why I think the Grit couple win here to kind of, keep that going. I don't know what, if they add like a stipulation or something at WrestleMania, if that's where they're going with this. But I think if the Grit couple win and they are going on with it, I think a return of like a Judgment Day demon Balor at WrestleMania could be something special to kind of, give Finn his powers back. He triumphs over Edge. We know Edge is probably on his, a retirement tour right now anyway. So yeah, that's when Judgment Day looks strong and get their win back. But on the night, I think Grit couple get the dub. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Thanks, mate. You mentioned the possibility of a Balor and Edge match at WrestleMania, and stipulation wise, I've heard so many people, and this has been going on for about 3 or 4 months, so many people saying Hell in a Cell like it's a done thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. No smoke without fire and all that sort of stuff. But and I wouldn't be against that either. I like the idea of the demon, a Judgment Day version of the demon, because they've turned it into a jokey group. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I've enjoyed the Dom stuff. I've enjoyed everything they've done pretty much since just before Clash, I think was when they really started to pick up momentum and becoming, you know, the stable. I think probably not what they were planned to be, but as effective as they hoped they would be, at least as far as telling a good story. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that potentially being a WrestleMania match. For me, I think either side could, like, picking up the win could lead towards that. But Andy, mate, what are you thinking?
To be honest, until this conversation, I was completely in on Rhea looking strong. But I have to agree, actually. I think, and I also forgot, there's the Canadian factor as well here, because Edge being Canadian, he's going to get a good reception. I know it's not, he's Toronto, isn't he, rather than Montreal, but I'm sure he'll still get a big pop when he comes out. I think, yeah, you probably, maybe, I don't know, maybe you look to break the Judgment Day up a little bit here, because I think they've all, from when they started, it served a purpose to get to where they are today. But you've got to look at it from the point of view that Rhea is now going to have to go off and do her own thing in the build-up to Mania. Maybe can kind of take Dom with her in that respect. But then he's got that kind of shoot off with Ray as well, still going on, doing those, like, the social media videos, like the Valentine's Day meal and things like that. You know, they're great. They need to kind of continue doing that. Damian Priest is in the chamber tonight. He'll be fine. I think Damian Priest is a very safe pair of hands to put in a mid card at any point, whether it's pay-per-view or on a Raw or SmackDown. And Balor, what do you do with Balor? Because, you know, everyone knows he's got the talent, but he kind of had that, his big push was ruined by his injury. I'm not a fan of him going against Edge, because there's two matches I think can end a feud. You've got Hell in a Cell, or you've got an I Quit match. Well, they did the I Quit match already. I don't want to see them have to have another blow-off match, because, as you say, it's how many times do we go, all right. And I also don't think anyone wins out with it in the long run, because what does Edge or Balor get over it? I think they're at the stage now where they've oversaturated the matches between them, and this has gone on far too long. So I think you either make Rhea look very strong by winning tonight and probably even doing a bit of a number on Edge at some point, or Balor's eating the pin. There's only kind of two options, really. And I think it's probably going to be Balor eating the pin to give at least one of the Canadians tonight a shoe-in victory.
We're going to throw over to Dom about the other Canadian in a bit, and this Canadian even sooner. But before that, I'm going to throw to some more comments. We've got Oscar Garcia saying Roman will win again and again and again. Sad and boring. Okay, clearly not a Roman fan, but we'll be getting to that match in a little bit again. Too much predictable results. No surprises expected. So the general vibe for us tonight, Oscar, has been that we do think it probably is going to be Roman, but we've been talking about everyone's percentages as far as how likely is it to be Sami. So it'd be interesting to hear what Andy and Dom have to say about that. Also, you know the deal says this could be a spot where Dom could try and help Rhea tonight, and Ray finally throws hands tonight. Step up father versus son at Mania, mate. I think the father versus son at Mania thing is surely a shoe, and it's got to happen. Mekz, you mentioned earlier on, I think it was you at least, or it might have been Andy. Apologies if I'm mixing this up, but basically about those Valentine skits and the Christmas and Thanksgiving, and I think that's been incredible, just seeing how they've worked with that. And it's not even been on TV, like it's been behind the scenes stuff, and it's just like the feud has still been going on in the background. Perfect storytelling for me, you know, not shoving it down our throats and kind of, you know, still working through it. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I do think the whole thing with Ray backstage, WWE exclusive, or where it was WWE.com exclusive, where they were handing over masks and all this stuff, is to get us thinking about that possibly happening with Dom. It does feel strange to jump straight into Dom with a month build, but then again, it's been a background build all this time anyway, so maybe it isn't too soon. And I've been hearing a lot of people say, yeah, again, as was mentioned earlier on, this could be the start of the beginning of the end for Judgment Day. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dom went into it as a heel but came out of it as a babyface, somewhat like Rock Hogan at WrestleMania 18. Look, I'm not putting them on the same level as Rock Hogan, but I'm talking about as far as you go in there and then the NWO at the end of it goes, you didn't quite get done. You're not one of us anymore. I think that could happen to Dom with the Judgment Day. And therefore, after that emotional match, Ray makes a save. And if it's a retirement match, who knows, gives over his mask. But we'll talk about Ray in a bit more detail. I just kind of got reminded of that, so I just wanted to kind of bring it up. So what have we got here? Space Tube. How does WrestleMania work? I'm new to wrestling and I'm not sure. Are you talking about the show itself, buddy? WrestleMania, the way it tend to work. It is, if you're new to wrestling, let me quickly fill you in. It's amazing. First of all, it's amazing. 2 nights these days. Some would say that's too much, but some would say that's the right amount. And the winner of the Royal Rumble this year, being Cody Rhodes, goes on to pick who he wants to face as the champion. There are 2 main titles, of course, in WWE. Now they're on one man, Roman Reigns. So it looks like he's going straight after Roman Reigns, unless, of course, Sami Zayn beats him tonight, and then it'll be Cody versus Sami. On the other side of that, we've got the Women's Rumble. Rhea Ripley going after Charlotte. Of course, she's declared to go after Charlotte rather than Bianca or whoever maybe faces. Well, it is going that way now. And other than that, they just stack out the card with the big names. Have I sold WrestleMania there, guys? Does that kind of sound right to you? Yeah. There we go. Space Tuber. Thanks.
Show of shows, isn't it? It's the show of shows.
The granddaddy of them all, as they say.
If you're going to watch one show a year, Space Tuber, watch WrestleMania. It's the big one.
Super Bowl of wrestling, or the FA Cup final, the Champions League final. It's it's the big event of wrestling. It's probably the one calendar date that everyone looks for and builds up and round it. So definitely one to watch.
It's the end, but it's also a lovely hard reset sometimes as well. But yeah, Space Tuber, great to see new wrestling fans popping up on this channel as well. Really do appreciate you getting in on this journey of wrestling alongside us. So yeah, we're very thankful that you've decided to join into the stream tonight. Thanks, mate. No, thank you, buddy. Really do appreciate it as well. And that's everyone that's joined us again, as always, live or on demand, whether you're a wrestling fan in the past 6 months or you've been a lifer, or you're like us, maybe getting on a bit and talking about the Attitude Era still quite a lot. But anyway, let's move on to Dom's thoughts there. And what are you thinking, mate, about this whole Judgment Day, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, Edge, grit couple situation?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. And thanks for bringing it back there, because I think it's a curious one, because I'd gone into this going, oh well, definitely Edge, Rhea and Finn need the momentum, particularly Rhea going into WrestleMania. But then of course you have Edge being the solid. Obviously he's Canadian, and there's these factors, because Natalya sure as hell ain't winning. And we'll talk about the other option in a minute. But you're gonna give, if you want to give the fans that hometown, pop, whatever, Edge is gonna get a momentous, reception. Anyway, then you're gonna give Edge that win, and obviously again giving him some momentum if he does go to Mania. And for me, it's a dream feud. I know some people have said they're not into it. The return of Demon Balor, getting that, Demon Balor getting a win after that abysmal end to the Roman Reigns feud, where he had it won. He had it won, but the ropes.
I forgot all about that. What a mess!
The ropes died. The ropes broke. Yeah, that's what they're going with. So I think Demon Balor, if they're going to bring him back at WrestleMania, the grandest stage of them all, whatever, and a win over Edge would be brilliant for that, to reinvigorate that character and again give it a Judgment Day-esque flavor. But in order for that to happen, presumably you have to have Edge go over tonight, Edge and Beth. So actually, I'm changing my prediction. I predicted on Give Me a Hug, that in order for Rhea to carry momentum into Mania, that Rhea and Finn would need the win. But actually, this conversation has made me rethink it a little bit. Actually, it's better for Edge and Beth to get the win, so that Finn Balor can activate Demon Self to take on Edge at Mania. Edge, as Mekz was saying, retirement tour. Maybe his last match is at Mania. Maybe not, but a loss to Finn, putting Finn over, would be good in that situation. I think that's the only result if they were to do Demon Finn versus Edge, is for Demon Finn to win. Obviously, Rhea has something to do already at Mania anyway. Beth needs that revenge, of course. For the brutal attack, that happened before. So I think it makes more sense, like you guys were saying, to have Beth and Edge go over tonight. But that's kind of rewired my pick and my brain on this feud, because and in terms of Dom, there's an interesting point about the mask thing with Legado del Fantasma and Rey. I hadn't really thought about that. It's less about Legado and Ray. Maybe, people are saying, Ray joins Gargano, which would be cool, but it's actually more planting the seeds for a mask handover. And I think we are getting that eventually. Like you guys, I think we are getting the passing of the torch, the passing of the mask, to Dominic Mysterio before Ray hangs it up. But again, I don't like the idea of Dom as a babyface, at all. I just don't think he really excels in that role. So, maybe that happens when Ray retires. Maybe he does get that. He naturally becomes a babyface in the same way that, that other, examples like Chavo Guerrero, has done that before. Massive heel, and then all the stuff with Eddie, he became a great face and got some big wins, etc. So, I think Dom could have that where it takes. The retiring of Rey Mysterio, Ray hanging up the boots, and the passing of the torch to give Ray, to give Dominic that that much needed the replacing of Ray as this kind of ever present baby face. Do you know what I mean? Like Ray's never really been a heel. It would be a natural continuation of the Ray character to have Dom, take the mask on and then move it forward, take on the legacy. So, I think that the mask thing, just going back to your points, the mask thing was more about planting the seeds of that. But going back to this match tonight, I think Dom gets involved. I think maybe something goes wrong because obviously there's some teases of the Judgment Day getting a little bit annoyed at Dom. And I think that will come into play. Again, leading Dom back to the Ray feud down the line. But so I think Dom's going to cost. I've rebooked this in my head in the last 30 seconds. Dom's going to cost Finn and Rhea the match accidentally. Wow. And Rhea and Beth and Edge are taking the win in Canada.
I can see that because again, that plants the seeds to where it seems like we've got to go with every single one of these people. So that's not a bad shout out all there, Dom. Hi from Cody Burius 678, buddy. Thank you very much for joining us. Really do appreciate you tuning in here tonight. And the deal says super fan booking, but I'd love to see HBK and Brett intro tonight's show. Don't shy away from Montreal Screwjob. Would be a really cool moment. That's a good idea, actually. I'm not opposed to that at all. Of course, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, like you say, a big moment in wrestling history to take place there. Was it a work? Who knows? That's a conversation for another day. And Cody also says, you ready for tonight? We are, buddy. I hope you're ready too. And if you're not, stick with us because we're getting yourself and ourselves hyped up for the event as well. Space Tuber says, what will you guys be watching the Elimination Chamber match on? So over here, we're on the UK, buddy. So we've still got the WWE Network. So that's what we're enjoying it on, thankfully, because everything I've heard about the Peacock situation hasn't been great the last year or so. So I'm glad we still are clinging on to the network over here. But however you watch it, mate, I really do hope that you enjoy it. We're going to start swinging back round to the main event. Of course, it's what it's all about, guys. We started the show talking about this, and it's time to bring it back because of course, we haven't heard from Andy and Dom about this. Me and Mekz have spoke about this earlier on with Michelle and also with Alistair, and we kind of started off by talking about the likelihood, percentage-wise, of this being a Sami Zayn win. Whether or not you want Sami to win or not is another situation, but how likely is it either way? From what I remember, I think Michelle went for 10 to 15%. Mekz, you went for 0, right? You were straight up 0. Alistair, I think, was 10, and I think I was 5 to 10%. With that in mind, let's swing it round to Andy. But unless Mekz, you've been swayed in any way.
No, I'm not kidding myself at all. Like I said, I'd love Sami to win, but I just will not kid myself to thinking there's even 1% that he's walking away with this. Like, there's very little that shocks me in wrestling nowadays. This would generally be one of them if he wins.
Biggest of all time. One of the biggest of all time, yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, is 0%. I'm sorry.
Andy, mate, are you as stone-faced on that as Mekz is 0%, or we budge into at least 1 or 2, maybe?
I'd go maybe 5 to 10%.
5 to 10.
You can never say never. I know that's a bit of a whatever. You can't really in wrestling. You can't completely say there's not a chance because something could be up their sleeve. I think all four of us on the call and the couple who've already been as well would all say I don't think there's anyone that would begrudge a win for Sami. I think we all want Sami to win. And it's not very often that you get matches like this in wrestling where it's lightning in a bottle. But unfortunately, what they did on SmackDown last night solidified it for me, because the fact that they gave him a chance to go out and drink in the that Montreal crowd for as long as they did. I was disappointed that they gave him his music back last night and didn't save it for tonight. They're the kind of things where you went, you've earned this. Go and have 15 minutes in the ring. You can say what you want to say. Don't say too much, because you can just let them do the work for you. And there's your reward for being in front of them. It's not going to go that much further. I think there's one of two ways it goes tonight. For me, it's either a very close, we'll get an incredibly close, close fall at some point, near fall, and the place will absolutely lose it. Or Sami gets absolutely obliterated and they get nuclear heat on Roman, to the extent where they could do something like Roman's beating him so badly, he also asks them to lower the chamber and he just throws him around the chamber for another 5 minutes, just completely let him destroy it before, you could let Kevin Owens or Jay get involved at some point in there, but I can just see it being brutality if they wanted to go that route as well. So I think there's no in between. But I would love to see Sami somehow come away with a title, just a title. He doesn't need both; just give him one of them.
Yeah. So we were talking about this earlier on about the potential for Sami getting another go at WrestleMania and them doing the 2 title split at that point, but not quite sure. I will kind of add into some of the things we talked about earlier just there to kind of fill in some gaps there. But Mekz also was saying about this kind of very, very close call of a 2.99 kick out by Roman, which, we've seen in the past few months. He's so good at, he's up there with Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25 type last second kickouts. I think at the moment he's perfected that art, Roman Reigns. So I think we will get to see a few of those tonight. When you started talking there about a kind of obliteration, I was like, no, I hadn't even thought of that. Please don't do that. No, don't just. I could see it. Do you remember the whole Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar? He just wouldn't stop. That kind of thing visually be great, but it would break my heart so much.
They did it with Jay, didn't they?
Yeah, of course. But I love the idea of lowering the thing, because that adds a dimension to it of not just burying the guy, but being no, there's story to this still, and it continues. And speaking of story, of course, a big part of that is a potential turn or helping addition of Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, of course, we've been talking about as well. Before I throw over to Dom to kind of give his 2 cents there, just throw into a few more comments here. We got Cody says watching on Peacock. There you go, Cody. Thank you very much for letting us know. The deal says it's crazy, but I've Cody help Roman. See, that's another. We haven't even talked about the potential of Cody getting involved, proving that he's the only one worthy of taking the belts at Mania. Oh, that's such a risky situation, isn't it? And then the other Cody joining us tonight says, I have my pizza tonight for WWE. Cody, what a great choice of snack. Over many streams, I've been talking about how just before the event, I go wild and do massive feasts. And I tell you, pizza is usually on the list for me to watch pay-per-views with. And also so good for you tonight, Chamber ready. I'm glad you're ready, mate. And my stomach has started to go. But thankfully, I've got a pizza oven, guys. Don't want to brag, but it cooks pizza in 2 minutes. It's so good. Anyway, enough about pizza. Let's move it on to Dom. What are you thinking about this main event and all the kind of wild possibilities that have been brought up so far?
Yeah, man, lots of really cool takes on this. So I'm going to go with 1%. There's 1%. A 1% chance, 1%. Right?
It's the old Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I think again, like Andy, both like Mekz and Andy, very, very good points. There's. It would be really, really odd for them to give the belt to Sami. In my, I was thinking the other day how they could do it, and they've done it before, I think, but they have Sami win and it becomes a triple threat, but then you take the heat goes off Cody, the kind of face, the ultimate face that is Cody Rhodes kind of gets diminished there a little bit. So that's the only way I could see Sami being involved at WrestleMania in that way. I think a lot of people are sort of jumping the gun on Jay being on Sami's side You know, people are saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get a face turn from Jay." I don't know, man. I don't know. I think we're getting Jay coming down and teasing that he's going to side with Sami and he's going to side with Roman. I think they've given us, sadly, because my heart says, as I said on our prediction stream, and we have said on this stream, our hearts collectively say Sami, and our heads say something else, right? I think my heart wants Sami to win more than anything else in the world. This would be Mick Foley wins the WWE Championship on Raw, beating The Rock level of wonderful. I would probably cry. I cried every time I watched the Mick Foley title win. I can bawl my eyes out. My favorite moment in wrestling history. So it would be on that level, I think, for a lot of people if Sami was to do this tonight. But I think more accurately, and I think it was talked about for a long time, is we're going to see Kevin Owens come out and save Sami. The bloodline in full effect. So the Usos, Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns are going to attack Sami after the bell, whether it's a Roman Reigns destruction feast, you know, whether he throws Sami around, gets a spear and wins, or whether it's a close call. I think we're going to see a Sami Zayn beat down after that match. The chamber, comes down, etc. I think that's all doable. And you have the Usos, you have Roman, you have Solo beat down Sami, and then Kevin Owens comes out and with a chair or a chair and a kendo stick or whatever, and that clears the ring, and Sami and Kevin embrace, and then Sami and Kevin go on to the tag titles at Mania. I think it's the most logical way to use everybody. Cody and Roman, the Usos, and Kevin and Sami. Without if you give Sami the belt, there's a lot of people that talk about this on their shows and different shows across wrestling, YouTube, whatever. It's a very good point. What do you do? What does Kevin Owens do if Sami wins the? What does Kevin Owens, one of the bigger names in WWE, what does he do at Mania if they give Sami the belt? The Usos, tag team champions, what are they doing? Are they gonna Hit Row suddenly gonna kick into high gear and face the Usos at Mania? I'm not sure about that, but if Sami Zayn and Kevin win tag title win at Mania would be brilliant. It would be a beautiful moment. It would be Sami, getting his win over the bloodline, albeit not against Roman. It would be Kevin Owens and Sami's re-embracing the friendship that's lasted beyond, lasted 1,000 feuds in 1,000 different companies. It makes more sense to do that. So I think while I'm excited at that 1% chance, I think it's overcomplicating it for a lot of people. I think from a booking standpoint, you're overcomplicating it if you give it to Sami. Because if you give it to Sami, he's got to be in the it's got to be a triple threat at Mania. If you give it to Sami, Kevin Owens has nothing to do. The Usos arguably have nothing to do at Mania, and you can't really afford to have a Mania without those people involved. So my 1% stands. 99% sure it's going to be Roman for those reasons that I've given. I've really thought about it. I've really tried in my head and my heart. I've tried to book Sami to win this, but it just doesn't make sense, because even if you have him win tonight, you remove, and this is fundamental, Cody Rhodes is the quintessential WWE babyface. He has to be the good guy. He has to get that pop. He has to get the crowd wanting him, willing him to beat Roman at Mania. And if you have Sami in that match, then that's not happening, is it? So it can't be done. It can't be done.
I think you make some great points there, especially when you look about the future. And we referred to this earlier on, but we were all there in Cardiff thinking, man, that felt like the right time. But when you step back, you go, it would have been a great moment. We would have talked about forever. But long term, for what's actually going on, do not abandon the plan. Although I don't think they always knew who would end it, whether it be The Rock, or Cody, or whatever else, because of the Rock situation. It was never going to be Sami. Doesn't mean it can't be, but like you say, it leaves too many issues with the Usos. I mean, that's not a bad thing, is it? Ending the Usos' incredible reign as well. That's not a bad thing. Signing back up with Kevin Owens as well. But also, you mentioned there, like comparing it to Mick Foley. You know, Mekz earlier on was comparing it to the Eddie Guerrero win, the Daniel Bryan win. That the Mick Foley one is something we didn't actually talk about earlier on. But it just feels like, again, it does feel like it would be incredible and something that would last forever. I'm not talking short term in the sense that we'd forget about it. It'd be up there as one of the best moments of all time, I think, in WWE. But there's bigger stories at play here, and
there is. And you know, you mentioned Clash there. Sorry to cut you off there, dude. I was just saying we were all doing the same thing. We were all doing the same thing, weren't we? All of us. You know, we were there. We were there, and you know, we were watching Drew do all the media, do all the spots, do all the community stuff. We were like, it has to be Drew. It has to be, right? We're in the UK. Like, it has to be Drew, right? We were all doing it. We all said it was time. So it's not like they've never done it before. It's not like they've never done it before. We have willed Drew to win. You know, as a you know, from in the UK and beyond, people were willing Drew to win. People thought Drew was going to win. They've done this before to us, and they're doing it again. They're giving us, and it's very clever. It's very clever, and you know, props to everybody involved in booking this feud. I genuinely believe the Bloodline stuff has been, you know, as much as a Bray fan as I am, it's been the best wrestling, you know, storytelling in years. You know, the best stuff that maybe over the last 10, 15 years. You know, the Bloodline stuff is exceptional. It's been exceptionally done. But, you know, and this is beautiful. You know, could Sami win? Yeah, there's a 1% chance, right? But I mean that's it. Well, that's it, you know. But it makes it saying, you know, yeah, your 0 is not much different to my 1, is it? You know what I mean? Like,
I'll tell you what though. At some point tonight, and I've said this at the Rumble as well, there will be a time tonight, and I know it's probably on that 2.99 kick out, where my percentage is going to jump up to 85, and I'm going to lose it, and I'm going to think they are, and they're so good at doing it, especially these days. They're going to convince me maybe I'm wrong, and I cannot wait for that experience. I'll be let down eventually, but I'll be like, you know what, fair play, should have been Roman anyway. But I can't wait for that journey.
Like I said earlier, Sami's winning. He's winning this match tonight. At some point, he's winning this.
Right? Should have had the count.
But
all that
the ref
kind of
ain't gonna be there,
or
Adam Pearce is gonna come out and say this is a world title match. We can't have it finished like this.
Yeah.
Sami is winning this at some point tonight, but he will not walk out as the champion. And like Andy, you know, said, I said in my prediction that, you know, to motivate, especially what looks to be a tag team match at WrestleMania, we need to see a sinister end where Sami gets beaten up, maybe rescued by KO, and they have that moment. I'm actually at this point, after Andy mentioned it, I'm going to be very disappointed if that chamber does not come down to entrap those guys there and really kind of hand it to Sami. And maybe just before the chamber's all locked in place, you see Kevin Owens run through the door and he's locked in and takes a bit of a beating as well. But I think that is a fantastic finish in terms of post-match segment.
Ready made, isn't it?
Like, I think that's honestly the best thing that can happen. And like I said, Andy's planted it now. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to be disappointed.
Andy, what have you done?
I've got a question for you there, guys. If you had the choice of Sami winning tonight and it ending the kind of bloodline to some extent in the storyline that they've been telling, or you had a choice of actually the person who's got to end it is Jey Uso, and you get that moment where Jey finally it comes full circle, because we never really got the blow off to his kind of like, you know, he that whole stuff where he was doing in the Thunderdome, where it was like, I hate you, and like they have those matches, and really that was, to me, was when Roman's character really became what it is today. Like personally for me, before I kind of throw it over to you guys, as much as I want that like massive moment for Sami, in terms of emotional storytelling, Jey is actually the better option out of the two of them. So I would just interested to see what you guys think on that.
I would agree. Go on, Mekz, you go first, mate. But
sorry, I was just gonna say that I think it became very apparent, maybe at the Royal Rumble, that Jey Uso is actually the main character of this story. Roman has been the person to elevate this story because of his status and, just rubbing with shoulders with the best. It just makes everyone better. Jimmy Usos came in, and I think, like we were saying earlier, he submitted quite quickly to join the whole bloodline and everything when he returned. Sami has obviously played a great role as well. Jey Uso's the main character. This is his story. This has really and truly not much to do with Sami beating Roman for the world title and stuff. Their beef is really kind of recent. Yeah, I would, if that was a choice that we got, like a red pill, blue pill situation, I'm definitely taking Jey Uso circles round and beats Roman for the world title. And that would, I think, just underline that this is the greatest story ever told. We've seen something like this, even with, over in AEW, the Hangman and Kenny Omega and that kind of story. And we eventually got round to Hangman winning. Like, this is akin to that. And, to be honest, probably done better. So, yeah, I'll take Jey Uso.
Wow. Okay, right. Let me just quickly say we've got some great comments I'm going to get to in just a moment, but we've had a fantastic question there from Andy. So everyone in your comments, don't you worry. We're coming back to your questions because I'm seeing some incredible ones there as well. So thank you so much for that. Quickly want to say, Mekz, I agree with you there. I think Jey needs that moment. Look, 2 months into that original storyline, I was like, yeah, Jey should win the title because Jimmy was gone. But I don't think Jey should win the title now. I don't think that's the case for me, but I kind of agree with you in the sense that we should get the Jey moment. So yeah, we're talking about best of both worlds. We get the Cody thing, which is great. We don't get Sami world title, but we get Sami tag title. Kevin Owens, great against Usos. And then if we can get a third one where eventually Jey finally wraps up that bloodline story, as Andy was saying. Oh, again, I mentioned Goosebumps earlier. Like, again, I'm going to say I feel like The Rock once again doing a promo on Raw because I'm getting them again, mate. I think the three of those storylines all coming to fruition, wrapping up the bloodline in every single way we can. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. So a combination of all those things. But for me, I think Jey should just beat Roman at this stage, not for the title. I think that, yeah, for me, I think it's tag titles come off the Usos. Dissension continues to happen within the bloodline. Cody wins the titles, and then Jey turns on Roman, and it's just a blood feud about the storyline. And then maybe someday we still get the Rock and Roman as well, So, we get 4 things. Imagine that. Dom, what are you thinking, mate?
Yeah, that's interesting because that made me think. Well, wouldn't again? I think the tag titles need to go to Kevin and Sami, but wouldn't it be cool if actually, because we were talking about Kevin Owens coming to save Sami at the end of this. And I initially thought, and my thought is still that Jey's going to side with the bloodline, but during tonight, and we're actually going to see Jey side with Roman. But wouldn't it be cool? Because you got Roman, you got Jimmy, and you got Solo. Wouldn't it be cool if actually Kevin Owens came down, got beat down as well, and it was actually Jey who made the save?
Saying that, we actually did have a comment mention that earlier on. Let me try and see if I can.
That would bring the hairs up on my arms.
Jey is going to join KO side. Yeah,
like that would be a good backup ending. Like obviously when I say backup, I mean to the ridiculous notion that Sami was going to win. But it'd be really cool to have actually Jey Uso, side against the bloodline tonight, which I again I don't think that's gonna happen, but as a bit of fantasy booking, that'd be cool because you're right, Jey needs to have his crack at Roman again, and he needs to whether it's for the title or not, he needs to have that. So I think this wouldn't that be something? We're talking about Sami Zayn winning the title. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't it be something if actually Sami lost? Solo and Jimmy contribute to the beatdown post match of Sami, then Kevin Owens. Jey's nowhere to be seen until this point, and then decides to side with Sami. Be
a bash at the beach. Whose side is he on? But he turns even extra face, baby. But but again, as much as I love that, it's just as much as I love I love the Sami winning the title more. But it's another one of those examples where that'd be good. But if we spread it out, we can get all of them. And that's the kind of thing that catches me off there. I'm going to get to some of these comments now because, like I said, they've been great. And there's some really good questions here as well. But I want to swing it around to you on these as well. But first of all, you know, the deal says, just like Mekz was saying earlier on, one thing is there will be a typical ref punk spot. So whether or not we get a 17 count and he should be the rightful champion, or we even get, as I said earlier on, was mentioned on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling preview and predictions episode, where we could even get a straight up 1, 2, 3 and confetti flies everywhere, and they somehow reverse it as well, which again is a bit more like what Mekz was saying earlier on about Adam Pearce coming out. M7MD Nightmare says, hey guys, first time here. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. Whether it's your first time, your 17th time. I've used that number twice, and that's a bit confusing. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. So do you guys think that Roman's titles could split after the Elimination Chamber? He's got a quick one fired up straight after this as well, so we'll do them both at once. Another question: how would you guys plan Sami's gonna win the championship? So if Sami does win it tonight, guys, how would you do it? So let's try both of those quick fire if we can. Do we think they'll split the titles after the Chamber? And then secondly, do we think Dom's done his one already. How would you do Sami? So Mekz, will they split the titles first of all?
I think these titles only get split if Cody Rhodes wins them and then does some type of noble babyface thing of I want to create opportunities and hand the Universal title over to SmackDown, and he only wants the WWE title anyway, as per his initial promo. Yeah. So yeah, I think only if Cody wins is if, and we don't know when that's going to happen. As for the other question, how would you plan Sami's title win? I mean, Sami's not winning, guys, and we need to remove this from our heads.
If he was, come on.
If Sami wins, then you can't see past a triple threat at Mania unless the plan is Rock versus Roman at Mania. And they've just kept that on the wraps. Otherwise, it's a triple threat, and then Sami then has to beat Cody and Roman. Then you've thrown away the 900-day reign and all of that kind of stuff. For me, I'm still interested in Sami getting to the title. I don't think right now, unfortunately, is the time. I think, and it's a lot more realistic if Sami wins a Money in the Bank for me, and then somehow sneaks a win past Roman. Then we can conceivably believe that he's the champion. But yeah, I think it does. The main event of WrestleMania doesn't look so enticing if Sami wins here. There's probably more in it if Roman wins here and then Sami somehow then gets another opportunity at the main event. Yeah, but yeah.
Fair enough. All right, so let's bring it over to Andy. First of all, are they splitting the titles? Second of all, if Sami wins tonight, how's it going down?
I've been willing them to split the titles for a long time now, and I think they've had quite a few opportunities to do it. I'm always skeptical when they put like a contract signing in, because I keep thinking they're going to be like, no, that contract was for one title, not for both of them. Or Money in the Bank contract only allows you a shot at one title, not both of them. They could still do it with the Royal Rumble, where Heyman can pull I've been reading the fine print, and actually you get a shot at one title. So there is a way to do it. And you can even let him have his big win at WrestleMania, only for the Raw the next night. He can pull that legal, like, if they want to. And then he can continue his reign to 1,000 days, because I think that's what they probably want him to do. And he only needs the blue belt for that, not both of them.
Great point.
Cody's story is about the WWE Championship. It's not about the Universal Championship, because it didn't exist when Dusty was going for it. So there is a way to do it. I've seen a few people comment and say maybe tonight ends in some sort of hijinks and it does end up with a triple threat, and that triple threat is a two falls match where each fall is for a different title. I'm not sure it went, because I think who was it who had that? Was it Jericho, Kurt Angle, and Benoit?
Yeah, that's correct.
Had that match. And it was okay because of the three that were involved, and they're all very good wrestlers, so they could kind of carry that match through. But it's very convoluted booking. I think it comes back to what Dom said as well, is like, if Sami wins in, that second question where he said about how would you book it, we all want it to happen, but it then becomes a very strange world of like, well, Cody Rhodes' road to WrestleMania and his story arc becomes quite linear and boring. Like, where's the struggle? He came back as number 30, won the Royal Rumble, ends up facing Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. Feel quite right. So I think it's very difficult. The other stuff aside, where you go, who do the Usos and Kevin Owens fight? Like, take that out of it. Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes is not a main event at WrestleMania. I'm sorry to say it's not, and I really want that moment tonight, but it goes no further. It's a very shallow victory. But if he is going to win it, this is the only time he can win. I don't ever see him being this hot again. I just can't see how they could heat him up to the point where he's as nuclear as he is in Montreal, in front of his home crowds, a month or two out from WrestleMania. So I just don't see it. But if he does, I think he'd have to go back to a triple threat. That's as he said. So yeah, I just think split them, but Roman's keeping one of them.
Some great points there, especially about Paul Heyman and the fine print. And as much as I get what you're saying about Cody and Sami as well, it feels harsh to say, doesn't it? But maybe with a 6-month build and different character development, maybe Cody's a mega heel. It could be a main event of WrestleMania, but that's not where we are right now. And a lot of times I say, we are a victim of timing, and sometimes we've got too many good things going on at once. With that in mind, let's bring on to Dom here. Too many good things going on at once in the form of the titles, mate. Do we split them? Is that happening? And also, again, follow up with the question of if Sami does win, what's happening?
The only thing, like Mekz was saying, the only time I could see Sami winning is if they split the titles, and the only way that could happen is because I could see Cody doing that as the kind of noble baby face. So realistically, do they split the titles? Maybe after Cody wins, and that's the only time I could see Sami getting a sniff to an opportunity to do it. You either do it now or you do it then. But again, like you guys were saying, this is lightning in a bottle. And it worked for Kofi Kingston, but is it, it's not going to, I don't think they're going to do that again. So yeah, would they split the titles possibly after Cody Rhodes wins it? And how would I book Sami to win it? The only way, if you're doing it now, is a triple threat, which is, again, bad booking for Cody Rhodes. The only other way to do it is if Cody splits the titles and then Sami gets the opportunity. Sami takes the opportunity that Cody is dishing out to win the belt, whether that's against him or it's against somebody else, So yeah, those are my picks and my simple answers for that one.
Some great points. Again, we're all on the side of it would be great for tonight. For the moment, it would be great, but try and be realistic, and then it's really hard to come around to even predicting how they would do it, So, but I've kind of touched on it already as well by kind of going between these guys. But just to kind of wrap up on that question, at least, is that, I also agree. Splitting it after Cody makes the most sense. Sami winning, if he wins tonight, I doesn't matter how they do it, the 1, 2, 3 will be enough. If it's about winning in the future, I agree with you guys. He's never going to get this nuclear kind of over babyface shine the same way, which does make it feel a shame. Don't get me wrong, but it's also timing wise. Go on.
One thing I'll add, I think to some degree, I think it'll be super lame if whomsoever, Cody or Sami, who's someone else, pins Roman and only walks out with one title. This guy at this point is the final boss. So to still allow him to walk out with something after being pinned after how many days he's been champion, it's a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Heyman pulling a fast one. No, the fine print says it's only for the WWE title, so give us the other one back. And again, that builds massive heat. And definitely doing that on the next night probably negates what I'm saying a bit. But yeah, I just feel the person that needs to beat Roman and pin him finally has to take everything from him.
Yeah,
not just one.
Yeah,
I think it's a great way to book it, but it defeats why it's so important, which is Roman's final boss kind of vibe. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yes.
go on, Tom. What are you going to say, mate?
It's got to be Cody, man. Like the Dusty Rhodes thing, you know, the winning the title his dad never could, man. That's the story here, isn't it? You know what I mean? That is the story, and this is again lightning in a bottle. This is something special that we'll remember for that pop he got on SmackDown. Sammy, this is I'm talking about. We'll remember it, for many years. The time Sami Zayn nearly did it, But the flip side that we're not talking about is the last time it happened, Kofi won it and then got completely obliterated. So there's also that. Once the worst case scenario. Okay, we need to get back to Roman versus Cody. Let's have a rematch on Raw the next night on SmackDown. And let's have Roman destroy Sami. You know what I mean? That's the worst case. So if Sami wins, hypothetically, and then they go, oh yeah, we should really tell this Cody story. We just wanted to pop the ratings for that Elimination Chamber finish. Yeah. Okay, let's have them do a rematch and let's have Roman squash Sami in 10 seconds. It's but people, it's something that they could do, right? You've seen it happen before. I mean, Kofi is the example with Brock, right? So, yeah. So for all we want Sami Mania, for all this, for all this stuff that we're talking, all this heartfeltness that we have, they might just decide to do it tonight for the ratings and the pop and the views and the clicks and everything, and then have a rematch on SmackDown and get back to that Cody Roman storyline, and then have Sami and KO and the Usos at Mania, and just do it, do it all in a week, Yeah,
it would feel somewhat kind of underwhelming, wouldn't it? I mean, I look back, like I was, kind of blessed to be in the building when Kofi Mania happened. I was so pleased to be there. And as much as the Brock thing hurt, you can't take away the Kofi Mania thing for me. So there's that part of me goes, but there's that. And also the other side of that, I'd say, as we said, Cody doesn't. It's not about Roman; it's about the title. But at the same time, I think we'd be foolish to ruin that incredible reign of Roman Reigns just for him to win it back. It would defeat the purpose, even though that's not what the Cody story is. Story to it, isn't it? So it's a tough one there as well. A few extra comments here as well. Another first get this. What about a few signal issues? I
think you're back now.
My goodness, what a mess that was. Right, anyway.
You're back now. It's all good.
Oh, I think Matt gone again.
Oh, he's gone again.
All right, I think we're good.
He's back again. Yeah.
Hey. All right, I think we're good. All right, let's go. Sorry about that, guys. New commenter again. Abra, sorry. Apologies if I'm still pronouncing that wrong. But Abra, either way, thank you very much for joining us. Hey, guys, first time here. Do you guys think that Roman titles was split after Elimination Chamber? So we just touched on that, Abra, but thank you for your comment nonetheless. Hope we've kind of given you the answer you were looking for there as well. M7MD Nightmare once again chimes in with, and how about Cody bringing back the big gold belt? Oh, okay. The big gold. That's an interesting one because everybody else seems to think it's the Winged Eagle, and he's also talked about it being the Winged Eagle. If we're talking about the two titles, one they really, really, really represent, the big gold is the NWA/WCW, the World Heavyweight, if you want it to be as well, if we're going to continue that lineage. But the Winged Eagle is the WWE one, and it's all about the WWE title, as we talked about earlier on. It ain't about the big blue one or the big red one, whichever show it's on at the time. For Cody, it's about the WWE. So if he brings anything back, it's going to be the Winged Eagle. So a quick one with this, guys. So we'll shoot it around firstly to Mekz. Which one would you like to see him bring back out of the two?
Out of the two, I would prefer Big Gold.
Ooh,
However, I don't think either's happening because that big corporate logo is, again, branding when all these guys take it everywhere. So
Patrick Mahomes the other day in the locker room after winning the Super Bowl is just the perfect. Exactly. As much as we all go, I don't think it's a terrible design, by the way. I
don't mind it, but people are down on it.
Yeah,
the current one, but
it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think for that reason alone, I think they keep it as it is, but I prefer the big gold of the two.
Okay. Andy, for yourself, Winged Eagle versus the big gold. Either coming back, and which one do you prefer?
I think if you're going to bring the big gold back, it's got to be instead of the Universal title, because I think that's the one that marries up a bit more with that kind of side. Because the WWE title is a WWE title. If they were going to do it, it'd have to be it'd have to be the Eagle. I'm going to be a bit controversial. I actually preferred the one that they had when it was like The Rock and Austin were having it. So it's the one after.
Is that called the Big Eagle? I think that's called the Big Eagle. It's the more expanded version of the lovely Art Deco design. I love that one as well.
I think, to be honest, give us a new one. If you're going to send us into a new era, we must have had this belt for probably longer than we've had any other one for a long time.
Yeah, just around the time of the network being launched, I think it was. Rock debuted it, didn't he? So 10 years. Must be about 10 years, under.
2014, apparently, it was like the one it actually looks like now, because they had that year where it was slightly different when The Rock had it back.
The old logo, yeah.
But I think it's probably due time for a new makeover. But they could do that with the Universal title, because they just don't like the blue strap. So just make it look a little bit different as well.
Yeah.
If they split it.
Dom, what are we thinking? Big gold, Winged Eagle, Big Eagle.
Yeah, the big gold one. I mean, there's so many classic belts in there that we want to see back. I mean, Cody, obviously, there's people that have talked about bringing belts back before, and it never actually has materialized. At least with Cody, it feels like it might actually happen. So any of those classic belts that we grew up on would be good. The Winged Eagle stuff, that'd be great. I mean, but will it happen? You know what I mean? People talk about these things for hyperbole all the time. I'm not trying to poop on anybody's parade here, but I mean, let's just get Cody winning the title first, and then let's talk about the belts, and what the color of the belts are going to be, or what they're going to look like, or whether he's bringing it back, whether he's bringing the belt back. Let's just get Cody winning it first, because that still seems a world. You know what I mean? Like Mekz said, it's Roman's the final boss. So can Cody even deliver against the final boss to start promising bringing back belts? Is what I'm thinking about. If he brings back the classic, whether it's Winged Eagle, whatever, that's cracking. That's great, awesome, lovely. But definitely not the spinner belt. But yeah, if he brings back the classics, that's fine. But let's get to him winning it first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Okay, let's quickly going to jump on a few more comments here. We've had a run-in commentary here. This is showing you we're a little bit behind the comments, guys. But we're going to get. Oh my goodness. Yes.
You all right, dude?
Okay. I think I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. We had an almost kickoff time, and then we had an almost time. And guess what, guys? It's time, because the kickoff is started on the way. I don't think we're getting any kind of pre-show matches. That seems well in the past now, but if we do, we'll kind of keep you up to date with that as well. But hope you're sticking with us. Hey, I'm sure they're offering the great show over there. WWE, they seem to do all right for themselves, but we're trying to build a thing over here. They might have a few more subscribers than us, but hey, there's no big deal. If you're new here though, guys, please subscribe and help us maybe get to the levels of WWE someday. You never know. But let's get back to some of these extra burning questions here as well. We've already talked about this already, Space Tuber, but I'll quickly fill you in. Who do you think is going to win, Bobby Lashley or Brock? We were kind of torn because of the Bray Wyatt thing. We did a predictions episode on this channel the other day, and I actually at the time went for Bobby Lashley. I don't know still now because of the Bray thing. I think it probably will lead into a Bobby Lashley feud, as we kind of touched on earlier on. Whether or not that means it costs Bobby, I don't know. I think Bobby can win and then be attacked by Uncle Howdy and his strange friend Bray Wyatt. And the general consensus for all of us, it was kind of going in there, but it was a bit of a mix between Brock and Bobby there. Quick one here. This comes up on so many people's channels and streams over the years. I'm sure you've seen this before, guys. Would you believe that WWE and Benoit at the Hall of Fame? Quick one. But let's not get into it too much. No.
I don't even speak on this guy, so I guess that's a no.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I'm laughing now, but of course the situation is no laughing matter. Please don't misunderstand my laugh at the kind of scenario of us debating it as a thing for what happened. Of course, I'll quickly mention body of work is one thing, but we cannot remove from what actually happened. Of course, we all know what we're talking about there. Anyway, let's move on to your other question here. For me, your other comment, even for me, this is the only time that Sami is getting this close to WWE titles. I'd agree with you there, mate. I think you're right. Sami is getting heat right now, but the question is, until when? WWE needs to give Sami WWE title before he's fired. Distinguished. That's basically what we were saying earlier on as well, mate. You're right there. I think this is the time. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I think we're all in agreement that it's not, sadly. As much as it would be amazing to see, we've got a lot of other stories to tell. Snack King says, here's my prediction. Sami loses by looking strong. Asuka wins, also possibly Priest. We haven't really we talked about Priest being impressive and doing well in that match, but none of us really thought about him winning the US title. Of course, the title he's held before. And also, as US champion said here, Brock versus Bray seems to be the way that we're going as far as Snack Kings is concerned. And Edge versus Balor will definitely happen during night one. Even going as far as predicting which night we're going to see that match on, guys. Also believes, this is an interesting one. Jay Wyatt lose over Eddie Kingston. Also, Mercedes Money wins the belt to head over to AEW Revolution for the tag trio match to join. Great kind of talk there, of course, about AEW and the scene over there in Japan. Of course, we try and cover as much as that on this channel as we can. Right now, we're in a WWE stream, but I'm not going to shy away from other companies. Don't get me wrong. A lot of rumors at the moment, guys, about Jay White showing up. It's always more exciting, I think, for someone to show up at the Rumble. So I feel like if Jay White is going to show up anytime soon, it should be at Mania or afterwards. Let's do a quick run around on that. Is Jay White coming to the WWE? And if so, when? Mekz, what are you thinking?
I think he should. I think his kind of position in AEW is filled. I feel like this might be controversial, but Adam Cole is the best type of Jay White character around. And now he's back. I don't feel like Jay White has that kind of position in AEW. I'm all undisputed with you, bro. I think Jay White should probably debut Monday night after Raw. Or Monday night after Mania, at Raw.
The Raw after Mania. I forgot that was even a thing. It's been so boring the past few years.
And with Triple H booking the shows now, I'm sure Triple H is
probably
looking forward to that more so than WrestleMania to kind of bring back the insanity that show has been in the past. So, Jay White debuting, maybe linking up with the club guys since they're leaderless now with AJ being injured, I think is probably the obvious but the great way to go. So, yeah.
Hey, I love that. Andy, what are you thinking? Jay White as the new member of the club or the OC?
Possibly. There's definitely history. I'm not the greatest expert on New Japan, but from my understanding, I'm going to go a little bit left field here because I still think, as I said earlier, Cody Rhodes is, even going against Roman, his story has been too easy. It's too linear. He needs a challenge. I'm just going to throw out there, could they really heat up Jay White by throwing him into costing Cody Rhodes the title at WrestleMania?
Oh my goodness.
Oh man,
coming with the hot takes.
Wow. if you want to make someone make a splash, then and you want to give Cody a big rivalry outside of this, because that's what you've always got to have in mind on what's next. Yeah. So if you want it to, I just think it's too, for me, the story they're telling, I've got to win this title for my dad's honor. I just think it's too tidy and neat for him to go into WrestleMania, win the belt, and then what do you want to talk about? How about we talk about Jay White making a splash.
Yeah, man, that works. That's
I
good.
love that.
The only thing I was
love
thinking, and not that it matters because obviously it's two different audiences, it would have been great if obviously while Cody was over there in Japan, I don't think at that time Jay White was part of the Bullet Club. I think he was still part of the Chaos faction.
Yeah.
Again, not that this necessarily matters. You know, if you want to create a star with Jay White, what a way to do it, right? But yeah, it would be kind of almost great symmetry if it was like, you know, I was in the Bullet Club at that time, and now I'm coming to kind of cost you. But
it's a bit like that, yeah, because he could pick up on that. I mean, the WWE probably wouldn't want to lean into it too much, but he could at least allude to when you went, I picked up again, that kind of thing, you know. And again, like we've got AJ and Finn doing the old two. They were never in it together, you know. Like
that's true.
Finn left, AJ came in, so we have seen this before. Let's swing it around to Dom on this one, mate. Raw After Mania is something I was excited about because I even thought about that possibility, but now also costing Cody's another kind of excitement factor as well.
Yeah, so I think Raw After Mania. I think Jay White comes out. Maybe something to do with Cody, maybe something to do with the club members. But I think it's a Raw After Mania moment. They haven't done it always, but I think everyone looks forward to a surprise or two on the Raw After Mania. So I think that would work really well. Jay White is my second favorite performer in the world today. I'm very much looking forward to watching that match with Eddie Kingston later on live on the Gimme a Hull Yeah podcast. I think it's a you know, Jay White is a fantastic performer, and you mentioned Adam Cole does Adam Cole in AEW, and you know better than anyone else can do Adam Cole, but Jay White is, you know, he's I think he's one of the greatest mic workers in the world. I think he's a great wrestler, a great performer, and I think it's a matter of time until the WWE machine gets its hands on Jay White. People are talking about, you know, them looking at Kenny Omega at the moment, but that's fine. You know, great look at Kenny Omega, but you know, he's on the front of the new video game that they're pushing. You know, AEW Fight Forever. I don't think Kenny Omega's going anywhere for a while. Jay White is a wonderful, wonderful talent, and I believe he's the hottest free agent in wrestling right now. And if WWE has any sense, you absolutely sign Jay White, and you absolutely have him either make an impact on Cody's life after Mania for those reasons you guys were talking about, or tie him into the club. And I think it'll be magical stuff. And I'm going to be there for my first ever WrestleMania, my first ever Raw After WrestleMania. I'm so excited.
Oh man, I'm happy for you. I can't make it this year, but hey, mate, I'll be living for you. I'm sure for your updates online. Speaking of updates online, guys, don't forget to follow our contributors tonight. We'd be really appreciated having every single one of them on. Of course, Andy, Mekz, and Dom still with us at the moment. Alistair was here. So we had Michelle, of course, part of the Rebellious Noise family. But give those guys a follow, as well as, of course, the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel here on YouTube as well. Speaking of which, just jumping on this fire away, Kings, appreciate that. But you did ask earlier on, if I can find it now. Hold on, here we go. You'll know the answer now because we've got back to your question finally. But is this pre-recorded or only go live on Twitch? We are live, as you can probably tell now that we finally managed to get round to your questions. And of course, we appreciate them, mate. So thank you for joining us here. I assume for your first time and joining us over on YouTube or Twitch, wherever you find us, whether it be there or somewhere else. We do appreciate everyone that's kind of joined in tonight as well. Ellie Underdown has joined us. Hey yo. Is that the ghost of Scott Hall speaking to us?
Hey, yo.
My goodness. Wow, that felt such a strange thing to say. I can't believe, Scott Hall no longer with us. But hey, let's stick to the positive, guys. We've got, sorry, I'm typing so far. Hey, don't you worry, mate. You're going to follow us tonight. We appreciate it. You can type as fast as you want, mate, as long as you're sticking with us. And I can see you've agreed with quite a lot of the points we've been making here tonight as well. Just imagine if he shows up during the Finn Balor promo. That'd be insane. Okay. Ooh, good point as well. Yeah, we're talking about Jay White there, possibly going against again another former Bullet Club member. WWE have kind of really flirted with this Bullet Club thing over the years, haven't they? How much they want to refer to it, how much they wish they had the trademark, I imagine as well. It's been a real kind of strange situation between them and Bullet Club, but I'm all for it. I like when they mention it, and I liked what Jay White was doing actually a few months ago, saying we're everywhere. You know, it reminded me of the times when you used to get the NWO and DX do that to the camera and all that. Like Jay White was just pretty much going, hey, I'm the leader now. But you're all my minions out there doing my work. I thought it was a fantastic way, because we got to be honest, the Bullet Club isn't what it was. And I always thought it was almost a poison chalice, you know, like I'm sure, you know, being from the UK, talking as a football fan, it's like taking over from Ferguson or Arsene Wenger. It's kind of like, it was a tough thing for Jay White to do. And I think the fact that we're talking about him years after his kind of emergence as a Bullet Club member in this way just shows how much of a good job he's done at a time when New Japan, in my opinion, and the Bullet Club has been on somewhat of a decline as far as its hype. Jay White somehow has continued to elevate his name. So I think that's been absolutely incredible there as well. Guys, have we got the pre-show going on here? I did until my internet started messing up. But is anything going on in the pre-show?
They're just doing what we're doing.
And we're doing it. Of course.
But
yeah, okay. I think it's time to start winding down now, guys. We're well into the pre-show, and again, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of matches to talk about or anything like that. I don't think any of this card was going to get bumped onto the pre-show. Of course, tonight we're going to see the interesting bout once again between Lashley and Lesnar. Will it go on for 2 minutes? Will it go on for 20? Will it involve Bray Wyatt? We're looking forward to finding out. Of course, we've got this great US title match taking place as well. General consensus seemed to be originally that Theory was going to be walking away with this. We've also heard some interesting cases for Seth Rollins and some kind of comments piping in about Damian Priest possibly coming out of this as well. But generally, it looks like we're looking forward to a great showing from Montez Ford and an opportunity really for Johnny Gargano to remind people who he is, and an opportunity for the former Jonah to tell people who he is and arrive on a big stage as well. Talking about the big stage, of course, we're talking about Rhea Ripley going after the women's title at WrestleMania. But before that, she is facing off in a kind of mixed tag team match against the Grit couple with her Judgment Day friend of Finn Balor. Of course, we've been talking about him just now, a potential feud of Jay White in the future. But right now, it's all about defending the honor of your wife as far as Edge is concerned, and the honor of your stable as far as Finn Balor is concerned. Also, we have got a fantastic women's division match to look forward to, I should say, with looking like Asuka. I think we're all saying looks like it's coming out on top, but wouldn't be surprised if Raquel being the one they seem to be pushing for the future, kind of jumping into that spot very early on. And talking about jumping in that spot, could it be the night where we see Sami Zayn be given his flowers? But I think if we're honest, guys, we all saw that last night. But either way, they're going to take us along for a ride. And speaking of which, guys, I've appreciated you boys joining me for this ride tonight as well. Not only you guys, of course, Alistair and Michelle as well, and everybody that's commented, watched live, or again watched on demand. We really do appreciate it. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, but you've been here a few times, guys, come on, you know how this YouTube thing works. We'd appreciate a subscription as well. A commercial break. Thank you, Cody Beerus, for telling us what's going on in the pre-show. Doesn't seem like much after all. But yeah, just want to throw it around to you guys to kind of plug yourselves. Tell us where we can find you. Of course, we've had the graphic up a few times, but Mekz, first of all, hand it over to you, mate. Thank you for joining us. Where can we see more of you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been really good to kind of talk, and I'm even more kind of get excited for this.
That's what this is for, now. Man.
Yeah, than I was. Yeah, you can find me at WrestleManiac UK across all your platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and my YouTube channel, WrestleManiac UK. And also, if you are into kind of more a bit different and fun entertainment style wrestling content, you can catch me over on the Rest Things channel as well. So that's like wrestle, but rest things. We kind of creating all kinds of different shows there. Really fun stuff, kind of just looking at wrestling in different ways other than, you know, your typical lists as we all love as wrestling fans. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Yeah, and just to quickly jump on that, mate, I've seen some of your stuff on there. You've got that kind of Gogglebox type show and stuff like that. Really, really like what you're doing over there, mate. So props to you. Of course, I bumped into your guys the other day as well, shooting a video out and about on the street. So I really do appreciate what you're doing, mate. And I'm so glad you managed to jump on this stream with us tonight and give us your kind of perspective. Also, Andy, mate, you were with us last month, but it's a pleasure to have you back. Once again, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Twitter. Is probably where I'm most active in terms of like mini updates. So that's at Sporsy19. Thank you. Give me a little bit of a prompt there. Right. If you want to follow me on YouTube, my channel's at Andrew Spores 6029. Thank you, YouTube, for assigning me some random numbers.
Make them yours, mate. Make them yours. That's got to be a brand now.
And if you want to see my actual, like, where I kind of like managed to create and put a little bit more artistic flair on it, my aim is to become the best feature journalist in wrestling. So you can see a lot of my long form features are on rushonrock.com. I know it's a bit of a dying art, but for me, I love telling the stories and like kind of delving back and looking through some of the storylines. So I put one up yesterday about Sami Zayn's journey to where he is today. It was really fun kind of looking back and seeing what chances he's got. 0, 1%, 5, 10%, whatever you want to kind of call it. But either way, he's had a hell of a career. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff I really enjoyed doing. So if you want to kind of catch up, I know there was a couple of people here who said it's their first time or getting into wrestling. I'd try and do it from a perspective where you don't need to know anything. You can just read one of the features from start to finish, and hopefully you leave with this something learned.
Perfect. And then we're going to swing around to Dom. Of course, you've joined us before on the channel, and we've plugged you a few times, and I'll always continue to do so, mate, because you're doing great work over there. Give me a whole year. But I know that's not your only venture. So let us know where we can find you, Mr. Dom.
Well, it's been a pleasure hanging out with all you guys. Lovely to meet you properly, Mekz, as well. Obviously, been able to have Andy over on Give Me a Whole Yeah. You've obviously come on Give Me a Whole Yeah. Mekz, you're welcome too, man. Anytime you want. We love collaborating with people. Obviously, going to do a little bit more research into what you're doing as well and try and support you too, man. Very excited to be here and talk wrestling. I am. Yeah, I've been up a long time. I'm very, very, very tired, but I'm also very, very, very excited now to dive into Elimination Chamber, to dive into New Japan. So thank you for your enthusiasm. You can find me on Give Me a Whole Yeah. So that's our wrestling podcast. We do live streams. We are going to be live with Elimination Chamber. That'll be me for a little while, Anthony and Dan, and then Sam and I are going to be doing some New Japan stuff after that. Not only that, but I have Soundsphere, which is our music arts and culture platform, and we interview some of the biggest names in music. And more recently, because of that, and because of the music focus of Soundsphere, we will be launching a brand new platform. I believe next week it will be called WrestleSphere, and it will focus our attention on wrestling, from British independent wrestling to WWE to AEW and Impact Wrestling interviews, building on the relationship that we have built with those companies in varying forms over the last few years. So we're going to be doing more interviews on WrestleSphere, everything that was over on Soundsphere and Give Me a Whole Yeah that was interview based and that sort of content creation. We're going to move that over to WrestleSphere. We're still going to be doing the live streams on Give Me a Whole Yeah, still going to be doing the music content over on Soundsphere. But if you follow me on Twitter, you can find information about all those projects. So thank you very much for your support, and thank all of you guys for giving me the opportunity to plug those things and talk wrestling with you guys. It's an absolute joy. I apologize if I've come off tired at all, because like I say, I've been away.
Mate, I'm surprised how well you've come across. I can't believe it.
Yeah, but been away since 3 a.m. So but my enthusiasm is not wavered because of you guys. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Dom. Like I said, appreciate you joining, especially at a tough time as well, as far as your sleep goes. But yeah, nonetheless, appreciate everyone that's joined us, like we said, live or on demand. Thank you very much for everyone that sent their comments, everyone that subscribed. Of course, we appreciate the support as well. And a final thank you again to my special guests, Mekz, Andy. I said Mekz there, Next, Andy, and Dom. And also, of course, Michelle and Alistair for joining us earlier on. I've been Scott. This has been a Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.